I usually I'll run both, so I'll keep a close watch on it for you. I'll try to keep a tally on the yays and nays on the larger too as well. And anything that's indifferent, I'll make some notes here.
Frankly, not that I put much weight on that.
Right. Right. Understood.
But it's nice to,
Yep.
it's nice to know and have a record anyway.
At least for our private conversation. 1 minute to do it. Yes. Yeah, they've left us here and hold them here, right?
All right, lock the door.
Yeah. And he lives in the old property right across the street.
Good to go?
He was 7, but you just want to let him sit down.
No, sir. It'll be after the PowerPoint presentation.
I'll ask everyone to please take a seat. We're about ready to begin. Okay, we'll call the February meeting of the Goochland Planning Commission to order. Mrs. Worley, could you confirm that we have a quorum?
All present, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation? Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we ask that you watch over our meeting this evening. Please guide our deliberations in the best interests of all citizens of Goochland County. Please protect our friends and neighbors and those who protect us. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
The minutes of the last meeting have been delivered. Everyone have a chance to look at them. Do we have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a good group here this evening. It's always a pleasure to see so many interested citizens. Sometimes we have meetings and nobody shows up. So let me lay out for everyone who maybe hasn't been here before, just a reminder for those who have, that we do have procedures for the public hearing items. And let me just list them very quickly. All persons who wish to speak to the commission shall do so from the podium and furnish your name and address. A speaker is asked to speak only once on any item unless one of the commissioners has a question. All comments should be directed to the commission and not to the audience. Each citizen will have 3 minutes to speak. And if you represent a group, such as a homeowners association, let us know that, and we'll allow some extra time. We do ask that you not repeat that. We do ask that different speakers speak on different topics, rather than have different people say the same thing over and over. And we ask that there be no audible shows of support or opposition to any speaker. Now, we have, first of all, a citizen comment period. If anyone is here tonight who would like to speak to any topic or subject that is not on tonight's agenda, please come forward. Yes, sir. Yes, please give us your name and address.
Good evening, sir. My name is Richard Willis. I live at 2740 Perkinsville Road. I'm not good at this talking stuff, so please be patient with me. There's an issue that needs to be addressed, and apparently it's not been addressed adequately in the past. The issue is noise. In 2012, Some Latin Americans moved in down the road from me a ways, about 500 yards across the field. They brought their fighting roosters. Fighting roosters are staked out, just barely not touching each other on their leashes. They crowed from daybreak until dusk and into the night. In 2015, one of my neighbors bought a pit bull and brought it home. During the day, it stayed in the house. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they turned it out, put it on a chain. That thing would bark from 4 o'clock until about dark, and then they brought it back in the house. Continuously repetitive, redundant noise. And it was loud. It really, really becomes noise torture after a while. In 2017, spring of 2017, spring of 2018, ATVs showed up next door. They were racing kind, not the kind that deer hunters used to sneak around through the woods and cut out their walking. These ATVs, they were the same kind of nuisance. I complained about it, nothing happened. Found out Goochland County doesn't have a noise ordinance. But I checked around all surrounding counties. Henrica, Hanover, Cumberland, Louisa, Fluvanna, Powhatan, all these counties have a noise ordinance. They enforce it. I talked to a Hanover County supervisor at a country store where he hung out some over in Louisa. I grew up in Louisa. He laughed at me. He said, "Willis, you gotta be crazy, boy. You know Goochland's got a noise ordinance." I said, "No, they don't." And he said, I find that very hard to believe. He, almost called me a liar, which I don't. I'm not a liar. I don't lie. I must tell you, I'm a little bit of a unique person in this. Not only have I suffered the torture of these uncontrollable noise sources continuously for hours and hours and hours, I worked for OSHA for 30 years. During the course of that time, part of my function for the last 20 years, part of what I did was enforce occupational health standards, enforce noise ordinance. I did not find that to be difficult. I wrote many, many, many violations on it. Our penalties were not insignificant. They were oftentimes well over $1,000. In my career, in the 20 years that I enforced the noise ordinance, amongst other things, I never had one case contested, not one. We used regulations that were strong, quantitative, and well-established. There's absolutely no reason why Goochland County can't do the same thing. Oh, by the way,
Yes, sir, we'll ask you to wrap it up. I think
I'm
you're
wrapping
making,
it up.
I think you're making your points quite well.
by the way, I've lived in this county for 50 years. My folks have lived here a long time before that. Last year, my personal property land tax was $2,023.50. That's low probably for most of the people in this audience. But that's not to mention sales tax, not to mention other taxes that you imposed. When voters find out that we're the only black sheep in the neighborhood that doesn't have a noise ordinance, and most don't know this, they're not going to be happy. I thank you, sir.
Very good, thank you. Well, our county attorney and our clerks were all busy taking notes,
Thank you.
which I'm sure they'll take to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else on any topic not on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the citizen comment period. Ms. Worley or Ms. Parker? Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the order of the public hearing items on tonight's agenda?
No, sir.
Very good. We have one item, I think, that does not require a public hearing. Ms. Worley or Ms. Parker, would you
That's correct.
introduce that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have an item in District 4, consideration of a resolution to amend the West Creek Conceptual Master Plan to include Phase 2 of the Sheltering Arms Rehabilitation Institute in the business park.
Good evening.
Hi, Greg.
Greg Garrison, Principal Planner. This is a request for a master plan for Phase 2 for Sheltering Arms. Phase 1 was approved at the December 7th, 2017 Plan Commission meeting. And I will remind you, this is not a public hearing. It's only an action item. There is no board action required. The site is located in the eastern part of the county, in the West Creek Business Park. The site is, the 2035 Comprehensive Plan recommends prime economic development for this site. Current zoning is M1, industrial. This aerial photography hasn't been updated, but the site is currently under construction. And this is the conceptual master plan right here. Areas in the red boxes are the new additions. Phase 2 will be for 2 3-story medical office buildings totaling approximately 100,000 square feet with a parking deck to the north adjacent to the 288 off-ramp. The parking appears to be sufficient, and this is the rendering, conceptual rendering of what the buildings will look like. The facade will meet or match the existing building. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone?
Yes, sir.
This is quite an exciting project, so thank you, Greg.
We'll need a motion and a second and a vote.
We do need to vote on this?
Yes.
Sorry. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The matter is approved.
Our first public hearing item tonight is in District 1, RZ 2018-9, application filed by Charles and Joyce Hayden, requesting a zoning reclassification of 17.87 acres from A1 agricultural general to RR residential rural, with proffer to create one additional lot on tax map number 11-1-0-35-0. The property is located at 3565 Haydensville Fife Road. The comprehensive plan designates this area as rural enhancement area.
Good evening. This is a request to rezone 17.87 acres from A1 to residential rural. The site is located in the western part of the county, about 2 miles south of Three Chop Road on the east line of Haydensville Fife Road. Comprehensive plan recommends rural enhancement for this area. Current zoning is A1, agriculture general. The site is mostly wooded. It does have an existing house on the property, approximately 5,700 square foot, with an open building permit. The applicant is actively working to finalize this building permit. That's a picture of the house. And this is the concept of how he plans to divide the property. The parent tract in this agriculture district has been previously subdivided, and all by right cuts have been taken. In accordance with the subdivision ordinance, the future divisions of land do require rezoning. The county's development impact policy does not apply to cases consisting of one additional lot. Therefore, this application does not invoke the county's development impacts policy. A community meeting was held on December 3rd, 2018. Staff, board member Ms. La Scalette, and 2 adjoining property owners attended that meeting. The property owners supported this request. And you may recall this case was deferred from the January 3rd Planning Commission meeting, and since that time, staff met with the applicant to discuss the rezoning process. All outstanding concerns have now been addressed. The applicant has offered a proffer that no further subdivision of the 10 acres will be allowed without going through the zoning process. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Greg? We heard this case, this application at the last meeting, and we deferred it for 1 month. I think there was a 2-2 vote.
Right. Yes, sir.
And we determined that we should defer the case So we're hearing it again this evening with all members, all commissioners present. Would the applicant like to come forward for a presentation? Yeah, let me just iterate the procedure here, Dr. Hayden, while you're preparing. And we do this with all public hearings. After the staff presentation, the applicant is given an opportunity and 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes, to make their case. We will then gavel open the public hearing. Anyone that wants to speak in favor or in opposition to the case will come forward. The commission will have an opportunity to question, and they will direct their comments to the commission. Following that, the applicant will have a follow-up opportunity if they choose, and then the commission will take action. Dr. Hayden?
Yeah, I have little to say. Most of what I had to say was said last time, and I'm still of the same persuasion that I was the last time. But having hands tied, we did agree to a proffer with that particular wording. I have little to say about it except that it is the process, and I do not agree with the process. But yet and still, I need to divide the piece of property, and therefore, we're at this juncture. The proffer is at the request and the leaning of the zoning commissioners.
Very good, thank you.
Members of the Planning Commission, I need to advise you that proffers are to be voluntary. And so if Dr. Hayden and his wife are not voluntarily offering the proffer, I cannot recommend that you accept it. By law, Dr. Hayden, proffers have to be voluntary.
That'll be fine. With no other option, we voluntarily do that.
Is that workable, Tara?
I mean, this is your law and procedure, and as a citizen, I have no way out of it. So it's like going through a gate with whatever you have behind you. So
Yeah, Dr. Hayden, I'm going to have to ask you to come back to the podium if you're going to speak, so.
I don't have anything else to say.
All right, thank you.
You know my feelings.
Ms. McGee, is the proffer acceptable with those terms?
This would be the gray area of the law. The gentleman has said it was voluntary.
Very good. Okay, can the chairman rule on this?
The commission can vote. I don't recommend any different ruling, but
All right, so we can take action on whether this is a voluntary, whether we accept the proffer.
yes, you should certainly
Very
consider
good.
whether you're going to accept the proffer.
Gentlemen, we act on motion?
You need to hold a public hearing.
Well, we got to act on the proffer first.
I don't know that there is a particular way.
The proffer was submitted within the time period, so you do not need to take separate action on accepting the proffer. Just open and close the public hearing, and then a vote will be sufficient.
You can have discussion about the proffer at the time of your vote. That would probably be
All right.
appropriate.
Very good. Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to the application, please come forward. Seeing none, and we'll close the public hearing. The issue of the proffer, is there a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve this with this additional proffer.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the proffer and recommend approval of the application. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Ms. Worley, would you, or Ms. Parker, would you do a roll call, please?
Myers.
Yes.
Brewer.
Aye.
Rockacharlie.
Aye.
Duke.
Aye.
Shellhorse.
Aye.
All those in favor, yes.
All right. It was a unanimous vote to accept the proffer and the applicant, or to recommend to the Board of Supervisors acceptance of the application as presented. Next item.
The next public hearing item is in District 3, CU 2019-1, application filed by Beverly Thurston requesting a conditional use permit to allow short-term rental unhosted and other places of public assembly, small groups no more than 20 people, at 2151 Shepherdtown Road on tax map number 43100860. The conditional use permit is required by Article 3, Section 320 and 339 of the zoning ordinance. The comprehensive plan designates this area as rural enhancement area.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Hello, Tom.
Tom Coleman, Principal Planner. As Ms. Parker said, we do have a conditional use permit application. It's actually for 2 uses, which would include a short-term rental, unhosted, and a wedding and event center. This property is located just to the east of the courthouse village. The subject property is in an area designated rural enhancement area, and the adjacent properties share that designation. The subject property and all the adjacent properties are zoned agriculturally. Look at the aerial photo, sort of highlighted the subject structure. There is another house, so there are 2 houses and some stables and other outbuildings on the property. Sort of zooming in a little bit, you see that the applicant does reside in a dwelling nearby, and there is a house that will be utilized for both uses, for both the short-term rental, the bed and breakfast type use, and for the event center. There was a community meeting held in December. 1 neighbor attended. There was a discussion of other CUPs nearby that were approved recently. 1 separate CUP for wedding event center and another separate CUP for bed and breakfast. Just a quick reminder of what the short-term rental unhosted is. Essentially, that is a dwelling that is going to be rented out for sleeping or lodging for transient renters, which are renters for 30 days or less. The applicant has indicated that the initial use will be the short-term rental unhosted, sort of what we're calling that phase 1. That does not require any site or building improvements. That based upon the approval of the CUP, she could go ahead and start operating that use. The occupancy is currently limited to 4 due to drain field limitations. If she were able to expand the capacity of the drain field, she could allow up to a maximum of 10 people. The public assembly use, there would be some minimal site and building improvements required with that, addressing parking and handicap accessibility and other items. So that really is, may not be utilized right away, but once she does utilize that and gets the POD and the necessary permits approved, that would be capped by the CUP to 20 people. And with neither of the uses, there's no new buildings planned for either use. There's a number of conditions. A lot of these are standard conditions, and you've seen them before. This first set deal with the short-term rental unhosted. Number 1 would allow the use. Number 2 would limit the occupancy to 4, subject to the potential expansion of the drain field. Number 3 requires a working smoke detector and carbon monoxide monitor be installed and maintained on the property. Number 4 would require to provide emergency access. Number 5 would prohibit any amplified sound outdoors, and there would be no music outdoors after 10 p.m. Number 6 would require installing no trespassing signs around the perimeter of the property. Number 7 would require it to retain a residential appearance. Number 8 would prohibit discharging of firearms of the property. And number 9 governs a notice that would need to be provided to anyone that rents or leases the property, reminding them of certain conditions in the CUP. Now, moving on, these are CUP conditions that would address the place of public assembly use or the event center use. Again, number 10 would allow this use. Number 11 would require any future improvements to be consistent with the conceptual plan that was submitted with the application. Number 12 would require the plan of development or the rural plan of development. Number 13 would require a minimum of 5 parking spaces. Number 14 would require both the internal access road and the parking areas be constructed in a manner satisfactory to fire rescue and the the Community Development Department. Number 15 would limit the size and number of signs that are associated with this use. Number 16 would require any new lighting to be part of a lighting plan and to be dark sky compliant. Number 17 would limit the number of guests to 20. Number 18 would limit the number of CUP activities to 2 per day. Number 19 would limit the hours of events as shown. Number 20, again, would prohibit any amplified sound outdoors and also limit outdoor music after 10 p.m. Number 21 would require compliance with any ABC laws that would be applicable to the use. Number 22 would prohibit any fireworks. Number 23 would require an annual notice of CUP activities to the zoning administrator. And then the last 2 uses apply to both uses and to the overall CUP. It would recommend an expiration date of April 2024, and then that standard condition, the last one, if the property's transferred, that they would notify the lessee or the Department of Community Development of the CUP and the related conditions. And that completes the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
I only have one question. The item number 2 for the short-term rental, if they change the drain field and increase it from 4 to 10 people for occupancy,
I'm sorry, what's that?
you said that if they increase the drain field, they can increase the occupancy to 10, because they wouldn't have to come back before the board.
Within this,
Just
this would,
administrative.
yes.
Any other questions for Tom? Would the applicant like to come forward? Hi.
Good evening, I'm Beverly Thurston, and I don't have any formal speech to give to y'all. I think Tom has represented my application very well. I just want to thank you for considering this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Thurston.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing on this application. Would anyone like to come forward to speak in favor or opposition to the application? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Gentlemen? That's a motion to...
I make a motion. I make a motion.
All right, here we got a motion over here. Motion to approve. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The application is recommended for approval as submitted. Thank you. The next item, Ashley?
The next public hearing item is in District 4, RZ 2018-10, application filed by Tuckahoe Bridge LLC, requesting a zoning reclassification of 98.225 acres from A2 Agricultural Limited and R1 Residential Limited to RPUD, Residential Planned Unit Development, with proffers to create a single-family subdivision consisting of up to 147 lots on tax map number 47139, 47139A, 47147, 47146A, and 47139B. The property is located at 2051 Mannequin Road and 2102 Rockville Road. The comprehensive plan designates this area as single-family residential medium density.
Tom, before you start, there are some seats available up here. I think there's maybe one up here. If anyone else comes in, please show them down to these. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worley. Thank you, Ms. Barker. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, Tom Coleman. As Ms. Barker said, we have an application to rezone agriculture. It's about 98 acres, and they're looking to rezone agricultural and residential zoning to RPUD with proffers to build a subdivision up to about 147 lots. This is located in the eastern portion of the county in the Centerville Village. The subject property includes 2 zoning districts. It's the A2 and R1 district. All the budding properties are also zoned agriculturally. There is some commercial zoning to the south, a variety of zoning districts to the south as you get closer to Broad Street. The subject property is recommended for single-family residential medium density in the comprehensive plan. There is a property to the south and the property to the north share that designation. Also to the south, there are properties that are recommended for recreation open space. Areas to the west are designated as rural enhancement areas, and areas to the east across Rockville Road are recommended for prime economic development. Just wanted to highlight one item on the Centerville Village land use map. The comprehensive plan does recommend a road that traverses this property to promote the connectivity within the Centerville Village, an important component for long-term transportation within the village, and you'll hear more about that during the presentation. Just wanted to point out some of the other RPUD developments in the Centerville Village. This proposal, the Teco Bridge proposal, is sort of hashed in. South of Broad, there are 3 developments, which include the Park at Saddle Creek, the Park at Centerville, and Reeders Branch, which are other RPUD developments. The subject property and the surrounding properties really exhibit sort of a low-density development. You sort of see some of the footprint of the golf course, which butts the property to the south. There was a community meeting in November. About 90 people attended the meeting. Much of the discussion were on traffic and traffic safety, including traffic safety on Mannequin and Rockville roads, the intersection of Rockville and Ashland Road, intersection of Hockett and Broad Street, and generally just the increase in traffic in the Centerville Village area. There's also opposition to exceeding the comprehensive plan density recommendation, and there were other items such as open space, impact on schools, and other items that were also discussed at that community meeting. Just from the comprehensive plan, the single-family residential medium density, this is the definition. It does recommend residential uses with an average lot size of 1 acre. The proposed density of this application is higher than the land use plan recommendation. Looking at traffic, just provided some of the traffic count information. The traffic count estimates, Rockville Road has about 2,600 vehicles per day, Mannequin about 2,200 vehicles per day, and Ashland Road about 11,000 per day. The applicant did provide a traffic impact analysis. I just highlighted that number 157 there. The traffic impact study was prepared considering 157 lots, and the application is for 147. That would have a small but negligible impact on traffic. I did want to note that there were several turning movements that would be impacted. The level of service, the traffic study demonstrated that the level of service would decrease. And with the adoption of the major thoroughfare plan, new development is expected to not reduce operations on external roadways to any level less than level of service D. And all of these roads are already operating below that and would be negatively impacted even more. There's also a discussion about traffic safety studies. There was a study done for a 3-year period from January 2014 to December of 2016. There were some crashes on those roadways during that time. There were no fatalities. There was a previous study that was done that was related to a previous zoning case that did identify a fatality that was on each road during that previous study. As part of the safety study, VDOT recommended and implemented crash mitigation measures along each corridor, including replacing and installing chevrons and signs, and it's expected that over time that there will be a reduction in crash rates related to those improvements. The applicant has included several components of the application to address road infrastructure and traffic. They are proposing both a right turn deceleration lane and a left turn on both Mannequin and Rockville Road, each one with at least 150-foot taper, 150 feet of storage. They would dedicate up to 45 feet from the midline of the property for right-of-way for additional or for future road improvements. They are constructing a roadway network that complies with that road that I showed you previously that would connect Rockville and Mannequin roads as shown in the comprehensive plan. And they have proposed to mitigate the development impacts on transportation capital facilities by offering a cash proffer of $4,331. That's not the total cash proffer, that's just the portion that goes towards the transportation capital facilities. And I would note that the traffic study did recommend installing intersection warning signs upstream and downstream for each access drive. That was not addressed with the application. Just quickly looking at the conceptual plan, just a few highlights. It clearly shows the intersection with Rockville Road and Mannequin Road. It shows the creek. There's that bisects the property, and it would be a substantial investment to traverse that creek. There are stub roads that abut properties to the north, and a total of 4 potential stub roads to the site. One thing that you also see, there is a commitment to trees, street trees, and you sort of see the outline of the street trees that follow the roadway network with this conceptual plan. As it relates to cash proffers, just to direct your attention to the chart, the smaller chart that shows that their capital impacts would be about $12,586 per lot, and they are offering cash proffer that addresses their capital impacts as identified in the capital impact model. This is a summary of the recurring revenues and the one-time revenues, and these are pretty conservative. You can see there's a note at the bottom that says these are based on houses of approximately $313,000. So we think these numbers are pretty conservative, but there would be recurring revenues of approximately $463,000 per year, and then one-time revenues associated with the development fees would be approximately $1.7 million. Now, as we get into the proffers, the applicant did offer a number of proffers. The first one would commit to the conceptual plan that we showed earlier. The second one commits to the traffic improvements that we've outlined, which would include the turn lanes on Mannequin and Rockville Road, and also to committing to committing to that roadway that was shown on the conceptual plan, and also to the dedication of the right-of-way. Also, the number 3, there is a commitment to a 100-foot buffer along both Rockville and Mannequin roads. The applicant has committed to submitting a landscape plan that would demonstrate what's going to be in the buffer. However, with this application, there was no standards to define the number of plantings that would be in there, and there was no conceptual plan or anything sort of providing, sort of showing what that buffer is going to look like. They also, number 4, the vegetative buffer, they are proposing a vegetative buffer along streams within the project. They also propose, with number 5, they're committing to entrance features at both entrances on Rockville and Mannequin Road. With number 6, they have provided some lighting standards for outdoor lighting. There's no commitment to install the lighting. Number 7, that is the limit of 147 dwelling units. And they're also committing to having at least 75 width per lot. And I would just remind the commission that the number of lots would lead to a density that is higher than the land use plan recommendation. They are committing to pedestrian walkways to traverse the site, and all the walkways would be at least 5 foot in width. They're committing to open space, and the open space would be dedicated to the homeowner association. They are going to provide side and irrigate the front and side yards of all the units. They're going to put street trees along the internal roadways. They'll be planted on approximately 50 foot on center. Number 12 is a commitment to minimum bill of materials, or to quality bill of materials. Number 13 is a commitment to the stub road connections that were shown in the conceptual plan. Number 14 is the cash proffer to address the items identified in the capital impact model. And number 15 is a commitment to provide access to the cemetery. And just in closing, I just wanted to highlight just a couple of the items that we identified that were outstanding concerns with the application. And that includes that the application proposes a density of about 1.5 units per acre, and that's not consistent with comprehensive plan land use designation. The TIA identifies existing delays and delays that would be exacerbated upon completion of this project. And also, there's a recommendation to install warning signs, on both Rockville and Mannequin roads to warn of the upcoming intersection. And just again, a reminder that they did not provide any standards or any conceptual plans showing what would be located within the buffers on Mannequin and Rockville. With that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions from the commission?
I just have one question regarding the connector road. In the comprehensive road plan that has been done, that road, as it's shown in this application, is really a residential road as opposed to just a connector road. So that really doesn't, comply with the road plan. Because the road plan didn't envision a road through there. It was basically a residential road with houses on both sides of it all the way across.
Mr. Rocker, I would say that when we put a road like that, it is a conceptual road, and really is a highly conceptual road. The idea there is that we want a connection between Mannequin and Rockville Road. We think it's important in the long run to have that connection. We do typically would allow the developer, as they design their project, to have first shot at designing a road that meets the intent. They do have a through road that would allow internal traffic to access both roads. So I think staff is comfortable that what they've proposed meets the intent of that connector road.
So you're not concerned about that being used by non-residents?
No, I mean, if the fact that it connects the road, yes, they may use it, but it's important to have, in the long run, to have a good interconnected road network. And this is one piece of that puzzle. In the long run, it is a good idea to have an interconnected road network.
Yeah, I have one, Tom. The 45-foot right-of-way dedication, would that allow for the roadway to be expanded, widened?
Potentially. They'll have to do some road improvements as a part of their project, but that does, from the midpoint in, that would require them to, at no cost to the county or VDOT, to provide that 45 feet to do future road improvements if needed.
Okay.
Mr. Coleman, you defined medium density as averaging an acre per lot. Is that correct?
That's what the comprehensive plan recommends, yes, sir.
I was a math minor, and this comes out to be 2/3 of an acre per house, which is, this plan essentially puts 50% more houses on that lot than the comprehensive plan allows. We don't have a problem with that?
I think we've highlighted that point in our presentation a couple of times, Mr. Myers. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tom. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Do that first. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Jim Theobald on behalf of Tuckahoe Bridge LLC and Main Street Homes, which desire to develop a community to be known as Tuckahoe Bridge. Let me first say that the proffers in this case are being voluntarily offered to address impacts specifically attributable to the proposed development, and I believe the proffers are reasonable under state law. So this property is, as you know, north of Sycamore Creek Golf Course and between Mannequin and Rockville Roads. Main Street desires to develop a 147-home community on 99 acres with a resulting density of 1.49 homes per acre to the RPUD classification, which classification could allow a density of up to 2.5 homes per acre. Your RPUD district promotes highly planned and amenitized communities, emphasizing the clustering of lots surrounded by significant open space and in locations where public water and sewer are available in an effort to combat sprawl. You'll note on the plan that there are large landscaped buffers along both Mannequin and Rockville roads. Those are 100 feet in width. The buffer areas along Rockville will remain pretty much in a natural state and then supplemented, and along Mannequin where it's a little more open, we'll have to plant. We didn't include a landscape plan in that this plan has to go through landscape plan approval at a later date, and when you build those things into a zoning case as a proffer, it really doesn't allow for a lot of dialogue back, when the actual plans are submitted. So we fully intend to landscape. We do have to go through landscape plan, but that's why it's not. That's why it's not part of the proffers. You'll note that all of our lots back up to open space. The lot area on the plan is about 60% of what you see. The open space, approximately 40%. Lots will include sod irrigation, street trees, and street lights will be provided. I do need to stress that we will be providing street lights, and I probably need to amend the text of that proffer between now and the board. We just don't know how many and the exact location, but there will be and is a commitment to provide street lighting. There are walking trails that connect the property throughout, very important part of these planned communities. Many outdoor gathering locations and pocket parks. We have provided for the widening, the dedication of right-of-way along Rockville and Mannequin, and also turn lanes, right turn lanes, left turn lanes coming into each entrance, and we are absolutely willing to provide the warning signs for traffic, and happy to build that in as well. I wasn't aware that that was an issue until probably today. But not a problem with that, and it is a commitment. We are providing the connection between the roads. It is shown on your plan. It connects both sides of the community, allows us to activate that area in between, and allows for better circulation, not only for this community, but surrounding communities. Then we will improve the site distance on Mannequin Road and, if warranted, on Rockville Road as well through the construction process. Main Street Homes builds quality homes for extremely satisfied owners, as evidenced by its numerous awards. It is a local company. It uses local employees, contractors, and suppliers. The homes in this development will be priced in excess of $600,000. Many amenities with the development, consisting of natural areas, pocket parks, pedestrian trails, and gathering areas, which are a priority to Main Street Homes. There are many benefits that come with this development. Tuckahoe Bridge will contribute $750,000 a year at full development in annual real estate tax revenues. They're providing public water and sewer to the site, resulting in $1,470,000 in connection fees. They've agreed to pay full cash proffers of $12,587 per lot, totaling $1,850,000, $289. We are providing for the road connection between Mannequin and Rockville Road as reflected on your plan at a cost of approximately $800,000. This site is in the Centerville Village area and is served by the Tuckahoe Creek Service District. Your plan directs growth into this area in order to preserve the more rural areas of the balance of the county. The plan suggests medium-density residential development with 1-acre lots without any open space, but that just doesn't seem consistent with the underpinnings of your Tuckahoe Creek Service District, nor is the current A2 zoning, which requires 2-acre minimum lot sizes. Our density of 1.49 Homes per acre is substantially less than some of the previously approved developments in the Centerville area. And you can see on the chart the Tuckahoe Bridge in the upper left-hand part of the circle, the density of 1.49 with lot size of 75 by 150 feet. And then as you come down to Reader's Branch case, which was approved by the Board of Supervisors, density of 1.97, and smaller lots, Park at Saddle Creek, also approved by the board at 2.13 units per acre, and then Park at Centerville at 1.92. So all higher densities and all smaller lots. I believe that this creates an appropriate transition from the village core to the outlying areas of the central village. I think it's consistent with the intent of your plan and the goals of the Tuckahoe Creek Service District and other area development as evidenced by prior approvals by the board. And with that, I would respectfully ask that you recommend approval of this case to the Board of Supervisors, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have our engineers and traffic engineers and others who can help field questions.
Any questions from the commission for the applicant? But we reserve the right maybe to ask questions later, so,
Yes, and I would reserve some time for rebuttal as well.
all right.
Thank you.
I'll gavel open the public hearing. Please come forward, and you'll give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Brenda Ellis Wiley. I am one of the owners of some of this property. My cousin and I own 2 pieces of property, one together at 2051 Mannequin Road, and then she also owns 2061 Mannequin Road. And as I start tonight, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the history behind our property, because I think it's an important feature of what we're trying to do with this piece of property. In 1920, our grandfather, Walter Ellis, and I'm sure that name sounds very familiar to many in this room, moved his family from Route 6 over to Centerville and opened Ellis's store across from Satterwhite's restaurant. He purchased 300 acres for his farming operation and his business, and that went from up at the store down to the Food Lion Shopping Center and over to this property, and included all of Sycamore Creek Golf Course that you're seeing on this. When Goochland wanted to build a fire department in Centerville, my grandfather gave the land for that fire department. And that was the beginning of many years of what our family has tried to do for Goochland, because it's a place that we love so dearly. My father was Otto Ellis. Some of you probably know his name too. And my dad was pretty famous in the county because he was quite a character. And he was actually one of the original firemen at Centerville. My dad was also known as the unofficial mayor of Centerville, and he actually served on this planning commission representing Centerville. My mother, Ruth Lane Ellis, grew up in Crozier, in the house next door to Harvey Lane's wonderful restaurant there in Crozier. And my mother was also a pillar of devotion to Centerville. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. When I was growing up, and back in the 60s, we had a curtain hanging in our dining room. And behind the curtain was a low-tech method of calling firemen to the fire. We had a phone behind that curtain. And if there was a fire, anytime, day or night, that phone would ring. My mother would rush to get it and push the button next to the phone to set off that siren over at the firehouse. We lived right across the street from Centerville Firehouse. And it was used to bring in farmers from the fields to fight the fires. And later on, of course, we ended up using phones to call people and then in other ways. But our family was very devoted to Centerville. I used to serve lots of dinners at Deep Run Hunt Club, and our family was active in Goochland Baptist Church. Now, I'm putting you through all this because I'm so passionate about what I'm telling you. I grew up here. My cousin and I went to Goochland High School. We care about what goes on in Goochland. I'm an educator. By 30 years, I gave my life to education, and I care about children and education. And I really want to see something good happen for Goochland. Let me just kind of
Ms. Wiley,
conclude by saying,
Yeah, we're going to have to ask you to wrap up
I
quickly
will.
because we have a number of people that would
I
like
will.
to speak.
I will, thank you. Our property is in the center, in the village of Centerville and in the water sewer district. And I just want to say that we only have 27 acres, and that's only a quarter of this whole subdivision. But since 2006, we've paid $37,254 in water sewer district taxes because we are in an area that allows us to hook up to that water sewer district. But you have to have a subdivision to be able to do that. So we just really would appreciate your considering giving us approval for this subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
My name
Just
is,
so you know, we have a warning light system here. When it flashes yellow, that means 30 seconds remain.
1 minute.
1 minute remains, and when it flashes red, then the 3 minutes is up. So we'll ask you to please stick with that. Thank you.
okay. My name is Elizabeth Turner Baker, one of the landowners of the property being discussed on Rockville Road. I live in Richmond. Over 60 years ago, my parents, Andrew and Arletta Turner, bought what was then called the Woodard property. Back then, an elderly man, his wife, and 2 girls about my age lived in a frame house on the property. My father relied on Otto Ellis for advice and entered into an agreement with him to take care of the fields. My job was to cut the front yard. We became friends with the Valentines and their 3 girls and visited them whenever we were in Goochland. On occasion, we visited the Wise family and their 2 boys. We often stopped by the Ellis store. After my mother's death, my father's dreams of relocating in Goochland diminished, and I was an only child, raising 3 children of my own, 2 of which lived far from the Richmond area. We have paid taxes for 60 years, which helped Goochland to grow, and tried to be good stewards of the land. From 2006 to 2018, we also paid additional ad valorem taxes of over $44,000 to be in the Tuckahoe Creek Service District, an area designated for growth and development. Main Street is an extraordinary company. Brenda Wiley and I have met with the builders and found them easy to deal with. They also listen, which is rare these days. They have been voted Builder of the Year for the 2nd year in a row. It is amazing to me the amount of controversy that surrounds this rezoning request. The inflammatory emails to Goochland and Hanover residents, the dissemination of false information, and the attempts to frighten residents is over the top. I would invite anyone who is interested in the real facts to contact Main Street directly. Go to their offices in Midlothian, view their plans, look at materials they use, go online to look at the neighborhoods they've developed, and even ask for references. This would not be Centerville's first development. Our property is in the village of Centerville, and the comprehensive plan calls for a higher density in Centerville. This is my property, and this is what I want to do with it. I'm satisfied that Main Street will be good stewards. Thank you.
My name is Patricia Hendy, and I live at 2337 Wheatlands Drive in Mannequin-Sabat. I concede my 3 minutes to Mr. Jonathan Lyle.
Shelhorst, that would
Yeah,
be
it's
me.
going to be difficult to award your time. I think each speaker will have 3 minutes,
Well, we'll
unless
take,
you represent an organization.
I'm not sure that we're an official organization. We're
Well,
just,
that'll be 3 minutes, please.
you are the chairman. I will speak like that FedEx guy, really, really fast. Mr. Chairman, my name is Jonathan Lau. I live on 1521 Mannequin Road. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to you folks. I think what you're doing is public service. I think maybe many of you would think there's something else you can be doing on a Thursday night. I also want to appreciate the building and ground staff that got the air conditioning working here tonight. And I don't believe I felt this much bridal passion in a room since I chaperoned my youngest son's middle school prom. I mean, there's just a lot of passion here tonight. And it's because this is important. We're going to be asking you, and I'm the opening act. There are going to be a number of folks talking tonight why denying this request or voting no on RPDU is important to us. I'll start by saying, even though Groundhog's Day was last Friday, you may remember the movie Groundhog's Day, where the same thing kept happening over and over and over again. Well, this board or this commission decided that they would not approve an RPUD request for this very property in 2015. So even though it was wrong then, the request has come back again. So what has changed? It hasn't gotten that we have less traffic. It hasn't that we have less development in the eastern part of the county. So why would it be wrong in 2015 and right today? What I might say is that the enthusiasm for this program is that development's going to happen. People recognize this is in the Centerville Village District. It does recognize that medium density. If you go back and look at what the comp plan says, 98 homes is available. If we took the existing R1 and A2, you could get 25 homes in there. No rezoning requested at all. So the comp plan is a compromise. You know, everybody says, let's compromise. Let's reach across the aisle. Well, here is a comp plan saying, we're going to take A2, we're going to take R1, you can get 25 homes in there, and now you're going to get 98. That's a pretty good compromise. And I would hope that Main Street could see that there is an opportunity to develop the property, do it properly, but not cram another 47, 49 houses in there. If they were to do that, the delta on the difference between 98 homes and 47 works out to about $148,000 a year. Now, $148,000 a year would be recurring, but on a per capita basis, that works out to $6.21 per resident here in Goochland. $6.21 to create.
We're going to have to ask you to wrap up, please.
I'm wrapped up. So, Mr. Chairman, more to follow.
Thank you.
There's some of us here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm Diane Anderson. I live at 625 Nellwood Road in the Nellwood Estates. I appreciate the opportunity to share our community's views and concerns with the Planning Commission. I'm speaking on Chapter 1 from the County 2013 Comprehensive Plan, the Code of Virginia requiring localities to adopt a comprehensive plan for the physical development of jurisdictions. The comprehensive plan provides the blueprint for the future of establishing a framework for growth and development. The plan will provide Goochland County guidance for the formation and implementation of various tools that guide the growth and development decisions. This paper is written in response to the many requests over the past few years by the county officials who encourage the citizens to be actively involved. It is the result of several hundred individuals' times and concern, which is typical of the Goochland County members here who make up the fabric of this beautiful, outstanding county in Virginia. It is with pride that we reach out to the partnership to our county officials who work hard on our behalf. In the course of 20 months, through collaborative efforts by mandate of the state legislation, the people have arrived at and approved the comprehensive plan setting forth and on record a blueprint of Goochland's plan for future growth and development. The intent and spirit of the comprehensive plan described as a blueprint by definition, is regarded by the citizens as a vision for the community written with county professional staff and elected representatives. It is an act of faith that the citizens believe, barring extreme circumstances, that this document sets forth provisions which will be upheld. Consideration of the following factors and impact on the community should be weighed: the health, safety, welfare, and alignment with vision and intent set forth by the blueprint of this county. This parcel of property is located along the fringe of Centerville Village. The 2035 comprehensive plan designated the property for single-family residential medium density, average lot size of 1 acre. This allows for a transition between the Centerville Village and the rural enhancement area. The neighboring properties on Mannequin Road, the neighboring properties north of Mannequin Road are outside of the Centerville Village. The rest of the road is the rural enhancement area. All have these subdivisions that use Mannequin Road are Britlands, Fords, Nellwood Estates, Knuckles Forest, Wheatlands, and Windy Run. They're all on large lots, average size of 2 acres. All have private septic and well, and we feel strongly that all efforts must be taken to protect and preserve the county's 2013 comprehensive plan.
We're gonna have to ask you to wrap
I ask
up,
that you
please.
vote no on the rezoning. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rob
Let
Williamson.
me remind everyone here that the reason we have the 3-minute time is because we want to allow everyone to speak. We want to hear everyone's opinion. So please honor the 3 minutes. When the red light flashes, I'm going to ask you to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rob Williamson. I live at 2262 Wheatlands Drive, Mannequin Sabbath, for over 25 years. I'd just like to point out that the comprehensive plan is not an isolated document that should be set aside excuse me, or discarded by developers. The principles are intended to be integrated in all aspects of growth and land use. It should be integrated with the strategic plan for the county, the county improvement plan, and the zoning ordinances. If you look at the 2019 capital improvement plan, it defines the comprehensive plan as a long-term plan to control and direct the use of development of property in the county. A lot of people would consider a comprehensive plan as a simple guide. I believe that's an indication that it's not. Also, the capital improvement plan points out 2 strategic goals from the strategic plan that the planning department is measured against, and that's strategic goal number 2, balanced development that contributes to the welfare of the community and preserves its rural character. Strategic goal number 4 states that the planning department's function is to oversee development and implementation of the comprehensive plan. So the coordination ensures development doesn't outrun the county's abilities for safe and efficient core services and the general welfare. I find it ironic that the Article 12 RPUD Statement of Intent states that RPUD shall be zoning applicable to those areas designated for residential use as specified in the county's comprehensive plan. It also says there's a provision, hotel, or H, to encourage the development of major villages and planned services as proposed by the official comprehensive plan. That's in the zoning ordinance itself, RPUD. So I say this Tuckahoe Bridge rezoning doesn't comply with the 2035 comprehensive plan. I'm not the only one with this opinion. At the public meeting that was held, the developer's own representative admitted that Tuckahoe Bridge does not comply with the comprehensive plan as presented. So developers, this is an indication, developers have little or no incentive to fully comply with the provisions of the comprehensive plan. So what protects the county? That's the board here and the Board of Supervisors and the comprehensive plan. They're not suited for RPUD since they are medium density, and that's pointed out in many tables in the comp plan for different areas and also on the maps. This is indicated as medium density. RPUD is shown as suburban density, and where the existing RPUD exists, that's suburban density, not medium density. So I believe this request should be denied as not appropriate for medium-density areas. And also, any future request, the medium density should be considered and it denied. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll ask you please to hold any applause. That doesn't do anybody any good.
My name is Gerald Anderson. I live in Nellwood Estates. I'm not a public speaker, so I'll try to be this to the point as I can, best I can. I will be speaking about the strategic plan with regard to rural strategies and economic development. We feel that both Chapter 3 and 4 address the strategic goal of ensuring a balanced development that contributes to the welfare of the community and preserves its rural character. Our rural situation, we've got farms, forests, rolling hills, and scenic views give Goochland its distinctive character. A fundamental principle of previous comprehensive plans is the widely held desire of the Board of Supervisors and citizens of the Goochland County to protect and maintain the county's rural character. This comprehensive plan commits to upholding this principle. Most of the land that is part of this zoning request is currently Zone A2, 25-plus acres on Mannequin Road area and 53.7 off Rockville, all A2. And part of this on Rockville is forest, wetlands situated in the floodplain. According to page 3 of the application for reclassification of property, this agricultural land would be lost forever if this application is approved. For decades, large farm owners like the Alvis Farm have rented land from the property owners on Mannequin Road and allows this land to remain in use as agricultural. In the economic development areas, important component of the comprehensive plan is balanced growth. Is one of the plan's guiding principles. In order to preserve the rural character, it's important to plan for growth areas in the county. The land use plan identifies appropriate locations for commercial and industrial development. In 2002, the county established the Tuckahoe Creek Service District to provide water and sewer services in the eastern end of the county. This plan was part of a strategy to encourage targeted economic development in the county. The county's residential commercial split is 85-17, which probably should be closer to 70-30. The plan also identifies enhancing tourism in the county as part of the development strategy. Tourism and agribusiness activities should be considered important components of our economic development plan. The protection and continued presence of the rural character and activities associated with agriculture can provide unique economic development opportunities for the community and increase the visibility of Goochland County. I have a little more to say, but I'll stop. And
Thank you.
We recommend a no on this, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Rickey. I live at Nellwood Estates off of Mannequin Road, 3 miles north of Broad Street. And I had a well-prepared script, but everything I've heard here tonight has totally blown it out of the water. So I'm going to try to read my own writing and address some of the points that I've heard tonight that I think are really important. First, I commend y'all for the plan. I know it's not set in stone. I know it's a plan, not a roadmap, but it's a really good plan. And anytime something comes up that makes you want to divert from it, maybe it's a good time to look at it again because it was good to start with. Nothing could get me out of my house on a foggy night on Thursday except something that's this important. I heard a lot of things from the developers of this plan about offerings. There were a lot of no commitments as well in their offerings. The connector road. It's a residential road, as someone here pointed out. It doesn't offer anything to ameliorate the traffic that's going to be coming from something like this if it's approved. I looked at the numbers of even if the 98 In their plan, they say they don't have to put any sort of connector road in until 98 of the 147 lots are sold. Even if they don't put anything in, that 98, say there's 2 cars per one of those 98s, that's 130% more traffic on these roads with absolutely zero change in the roads. 130% more traffic. Think about where you go every day. Could you stand 130% more traffic on your daily roads without any changes? That's a lot. It's just something to think about. They're going to put up warning signs that cost $120 a piece. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my own writing, but there's just so much here that's wrong on this development. I understand budgets, that's my occupation. Transportation is supposed to be my subject here. I haven't had a chance to review the cost benefit of these figures, but I suspect it's not as advantageous to the county as it is to the developer, and I would like you to deny this plan. We all feel strongly that to protect and preserve Goochland County, the 2035 comprehensive plan, vote no on this developing request. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations to the last speaker. She was right on time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roland Bambakers. I live at 1721 Pine Drive, Manikin-Sabot. I had to read that because I forget where I live. It is unbelievable to me that an elected board of educated ladies and gentlemen are unable to do simple math and arrive at a formula that will follow the current laws as determined how many acres belong to a single-family dwelling. Now, I will retract that because one gentleman got it right. You asked the right question, but you misplaced your rejected stamp. I reject this proposal. You didn't reject it, so you misplaced your stamp. Your judgment is being clouded by an expensive housing development. It is being proffered by the developer and pleaded by his attorney. Once the developer is gone, the county and citizens will have to deal with its congestions from ever on end. Forget about our peace and quiet and farmland. What happened to the minimum of 1 acre per lot? What happened to it? What happened? What's the math? Have you lost your rejected stamp? All of you. And why are you even considering 2/3 of an acre per lot for this subdivision? Why are you considering it? It's the law. Why are you trying to pull the wool over the citizens of Goochland County? This plan must be rejected as submitted. There's nothing else you can do. Nothing. Didn't follow the laws. Didn't follow the laws. 1 acre per house is what the law says. You don't have 1 acre per lot? Reject it. I'm gone.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Claire Fortier, and I live at 2257 Wheatlands Drive. I've been asked to look at this project in terms of its impact on our natural resources. In the comprehensive plan, the county set the goal of being good stewards of our historic, natural, and cultural resources. And unfortunately, this plan does not further that goal. The significant increase in housing density requested in the Tuckahoe Bridge project will impact the county's land and water quality, not just in the immediate vicinity of this project, but within the entire Tuckahoe Creek watershed. How much will it impact? Well, this Planning Commission doesn't know, nor is there any information in front of you to answer that question. That's because the plan of development, including the stormwater management permits, actually are approved after your vote. But a quick glance at the developer's overlay shows significant loss of woodlands, floodplains, and wetlands. Adding 147 residents and an accompanying driveways, sidewalks, and roads would mean developing more than 70% of this land. A national research has shown that even a 10% decrease or a 10% increase in impervious coverage will diminish water quality in the streams and wetlands downstream. While lawns are not considered impervious, fertilizers and pesticides that lawns require can have a significant impact on water quality. To mitigate this, the developer proposes a 100-foot buffer on both sides of the roadway, as well as the interior, which contains the permanent creek. Those buffers also are planned to house utilities, drainage, walls, gratings, and signs. That raises some doubts as to their effectiveness. The Tuckahoe project eliminates significant swaths of woodlands, but it also takes out 7 acres of floodplains, and 5 acres are thought to be 5 acres in addition are thought to be wetlands. But that number is just a guesstimate. The actual percentage you'll only find out after you approve this project. Perhaps these impacts could be mitigated by the surrounding area, but as the staff has pointed out in its December report, the property is surrounded by vacant land, and this rezoning proposes higher densities than contemplated in the 2035 comprehensive plan. In other words, Tuckahoe Bridge probably won't be the last request for high density in this area, but if approved, this project will be the starting line. Thank you.
My name is Larry Barker. I live at 2170 Mannequin Road, about a quarter-mile west of this proposed development. I'm just going to bore you with some figures from the Forest Fire Rescue goes. 2014, there were 317 homes in our Company 3's district. 2019, there were 2,595, which is a 278 in a 5-year period, 50 houses per year. But the EMS calls and the fire calls from 2014 were 233 fire calls to 306 EMS calls. 2016, 261 to 340 EMS calls. All the way to 2018, 276 fire calls, 576 EMS calls in our Company 3. That doesn't include where we used to cover Rockville, Hanover area, just in our area now. The new subdivision is projected to generate between 45 and 50 calls a year. Approximately 370 people in the subdivision. According to the Fire and EMS administration, they're going to need to hire about 19 more full-time people to cover the stations that now we only have 2 people at a time in the station that are paid. I mean, you may have to, they're talking about building a West Creek fire station at some point in time down the road. That means 27 new firefighters, EMS people. And then as far as the connector road, I'm going to be quick. If you all look at this proposal back here, I drove an ambulance for 17 years. That is not a connector road between the 2 roads. Nobody, I mean, we already have a connector road at St. Matthews, and Echo Meadow is a connector road from Mannequin to Rockville Road. That is not a connector road. I wouldn't drive an ambulance or a fire truck, and I'm sure that the people that bought these houses wouldn't want the fire trucks and ambulances coming through that maze right there. So that's all I have. That's how it impacts fire and rescue is the number. I mean, the numbers I gave, and you were correct. That's That's not a connector road.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Landry. I live at 2140 Prophet Road, Mannequin-Sabat. Most of the information that I gathered and was to present to you this evening has to do with schools and the school system in Goochland. First of all of our schools in Goochland are, the elementary schools in particular, are old. And in a study in 2017 that was commissioned by the school system, said that all of the elementary schools were basically nearing the end of their life expectancy and what we could get out of them. Now we're looking at 3 elementary schools. The biggest one that I have a concern with is the district that I live in, which is Randolph. Randolph was originally built in 1958 for a total of 409 students. That was the capacity that they expected. As of this year, there are 476 students in that school. There are 3 trailers, well, learning cottages, sorry. 3 learning cottages on the property, 2 that are, have 2 classrooms in, and 1 that is a single classroom. So there are 5 classrooms that are in learning cottages. One of the big things that we have a concern with is the safety for our students and our faculty that are in those cottages. They certainly do not have the protection available if there's an incident where, and there has been a tornado in this area, those kind of things. Those learning cottages certainly do not have the protection that a building does. So putting more learning cottages on the property really, as far as I'm concerned, is not an option. Also, a big thing for Randolph is the parking area, and anything that is a school-wide function at the school has to have neighboring properties give permission for people to park on the neighboring properties because all of the vehicles can't fit in the parking lot. And it's expected that in 2021, there will be more than 500 students at Randolph. What do we do with them? And that's not even looking at what might be added with a new development. So vote no, please. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Paul Costello, and I live at 2011 Sycamore Creek Drive in Mannequin-Sabat. We appreciate the opportunity to share the community's views and concerns with the Planning Commission. We also understand the applicant's right to request rezoning and your responsibility to consider whether or not the applicant's request is a matter of public necessity, convenience, or general welfare, and if the applicant's request would comport with good zoning practice. You have heard through the public comment process numerous points of concern and opposing views to the applicant's request. It is also important to note that the comments shared by concerned citizens reflect significant time and thoughtful research by people who care deeply about Goochland County. In fact, the last 10 speakers cited specific concerns, contradictions, and other important considerations for the county, from the county staff report that was prepared in response to the Tuckahoe Bridge application. Public comments were also based on each section of the 2035 Comprehensive Plan, Goochland County's Public Facilities Master Plan, the related Capital Impact Study, and Goochland's 2040 Master Thoroughfare Plan. While the applicant's proposed proffers provide limited funds, it does not address the cumulative planning implications and significant timing gaps related to roadway safety, capacity limitations, and the impending burden that the proposed RPUD would place on our public service operations and facilities. Most importantly, we believe that the Tuckahoe Bridge proposed rezoning violates the guiding principles and the spirit in which the Goochland County's 2035 Comprehensive Plan is based on. We also believe that the applicant's rezoning request is not in accordance with the county's strategic goal of ensuring balanced development that contributes to the welfare of the community and preserves its rural character. Moreover, the applicant has not demonstrated that their proposed RPUD rezoning is a matter of public necessity, convenience, and general welfare, and that the rezoning request does not comport with good zoning practice for the targeted area of the proposed development. In summary, we are asking the Planning Commission to protect and preserve Goochland County's 2035 Comprehensive Plan and vote no to deny Tuckahoe Bridge's request RPUD rezoning. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Paul.
Hi, I'm Marie Owens. I live at 621 Fed Lane, Mannequin Sabot, in the Ford subdivision right off of Mannequin Road. I have a couple of random idea thoughts. First off, deja vu. I have been here before. When I was back in school about 1,000 years ago, when somebody told me that you had one house per acre, that meant one house per acre, not 9 houses in an acre, and 10 acres of open land somewhere that's usually floodplain because nobody else can build on it. So 1 house per acre is what it should be, 1 house per acre, not a whole bunch of little houses and on a city-sized lot. Also, country properties. Streetlights, really? Country properties, sidewalks? This is the country. If you want that, go down to those really ugly 4-story jobs down in Henrico. Traffic-wise, I've been known to have to wait for 4 minutes at the light at Satterwhite's to turn left on Broad off my street. Oh my gosh, there were only 6 of us waiting, but it took 4 minutes. How many more minutes if I'm back there in number 12 or 13 car? Heaven forbid I'm late for work. And $600,000 a house? Oh my gosh, you're not talking senior citizens living here because they wouldn't be able to afford it. So you're talking middle-aged people with 2 incomes and kids. So I think we should stay more rural, less suburbia, and vote no.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm June Frick, 518 Fords Road, Mannequin Sabot in Ford subdivision. I'm here to ask you to oppose the application that's filed by Tuckahoe Bridge, LLC. I was born in the city of Richmond. Later, my parents moved to Henrico County. A few years after that, we were annexed into the city again. Many years later, I came to Goochland County because I wanted that kind of atmosphere. It seemed it was impossible to get it in the city of Richmond and Henrico County. The comp plan here stated there would be 1 house per acre. I'm on 2 acres. I've enjoyed my 33 years on Ford's Road, and I would ask you to please oppose the request for the application by Tuckahoe Bridge and leave it at 1 house per acre. Many reasons have already been stated. The traffic, the EMS, the school situation, and of course, back again, we are reducing the lots. The homes are building up 3 times what they should be, according to the comp plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Bonnie Agee, and I live at 1416 Windsor Way in Mannequin Sabot. I have lived in Mannequin Sabot with my husband for almost 41 years, more than a lot of these people can say. We moved to Goochland in 1978 and raised our 2 children here. We are in our 2nd home in the same neighborhood off Mannequin Road, 3.5 miles south of Broad Street, so you can imagine the growth I've seen in 41 years in Centerville and in Broad Street. The only subdivision in our area in Mannequin Sabot in 1978 were Mannequin Farms, Broad Run 1, and Auburn Chase. Hermitage Road did not extend to Patterson Avenue, and Hermitage Country Club had just relocated here. Brenda Ellis, Brenda Wiley, Betsy Tanton, and Ann Knuckles' grandfather, Ellis's home and store were at the corner of Broad and Mannequin. Knuckles Auxon was where we went for repairs on our car. Short Pump Garage was still at Short Pump on Brown, down at the corner at the triangle. And Broad Street was 2 lanes all the way to Short Pump, or we said to town. Since 1978, at least 22 subdivisions have been approved and built in this area south of Broad Street along Mannequin and Hermitage Roads. Mannequin Road today is the same road it was 41 years ago, with the exception of a few signs and turn lanes at the entrances to the most recent developments. It is built the same as Mannequin and Rockville Roads north of Broad. All of this development since 1978 has not caused me much inconvenience with traffic. I am on the road all times of day, many times a day, every day. In 2005, after a 21-year teaching career, I decided to become a realtor. I love selling homes in Goochland and have sold many homes from Mannequin Sabbath to Hayden'sville. For almost 7 years now, I have represented 3 of these 4 sellers in search of the right developer for these last pieces of Ellis and Baker family land. They wanted to do something wonderful for Goochland, and so did I. Main Street will make that happen, and this will be a beautiful place for new residents of Goochland to call home. There is nothing like it available in Mannequin Sabbath in this price range for families to purchase, and if you ask any realtor who lives here or sells homes in Goochland, they will tell you they have the same frustration. Goochland has so much to offer families and has put so much into its efforts in its schools, parks, and recreation, which is why families want to come here. It has won many awards for these efforts, and these need to be shared with new families. Centerville is designated as a village with higher density than rural areas and is an excellent location for this development. The Mannequin Road properties are located 0.4 of a mile from Broad Street, and Rockville Road properties 0.6 of a mile from Ashland Road. The park at Centerville, which has higher density than what Main Street is requesting, is 0.5 of a mile from Broad Street, and Reader's Branch, which is under development across from Centerville Park at Centerville, an age-restricted community, not single-family homes, will extend at least 0.8 of a mile from Broad. It has also been approved with higher density. My sellers, as you have heard, have been paying ad valorem taxes for several years. They have the right to have this land developed. New families will bring economic growth, diversity, new ideas, and leadership to Goochland. I ask that you approve this.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I'm Pat Lacey, 12114 Walnut Hill Drive, Rockville, Virginia. Maybe I'm the only one here from Hanover County, but Hanover County is being impacted by this also. Rockville Road is not always repaired properly. The upkeep on the road has not been really satisfactory. We've lived out there for 25 years, and it seems like when we get to Rockville and Ashland, it is more and more and more traffic. We see a lot of traffic there. We're having to wait a long time. The 4 minutes somebody reminded, I'm sure that we have done 4 minutes or more to wait to get in and out of Rockville Road at Ashland. I hear a lot of common sense objections to this, one being the law, others being the problem with fire departments, the emergency care, rescue squads, being able to get in and out, and the number of people that are paid at the fire departments. We went through that at Rockville, had a lot of discussion over that. Gone are the days that we have volunteers doing our fire departments. Gone are the days. We don't do that anymore. We need to be able to be aware that those need to be paid positions, and fire departments need to be covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Lives depend on it, and that's more important than a lot of other things that the county can spend money on. I'm not against libraries. I'm not against parks. I think they're wonderful, but you need to save lives first, and then if you have money left over, then you can do those things. I find that it is very difficult to see that people want to get money for things without doing it legally and doing it the right way. If it says 1 acre, why isn't this wonderful project being kept to 1 acre? Because there's more money to be made the more houses you put on. there's more change in the rural atmosphere there. And when you're taking the land that is wetlands, if I want to do something with wetlands that I own in my property, I'm going to get taken care of. I can't do it. But when you do something as big as this, somehow or another the wetlands don't count anymore. And the kids in school, the school buses that are traveling, they're up and down this road too. And we're going to have more kids, more school buses. If you've got 147, you're going to have more than one kid in a house.
I think we're going to have to ask you to wrap up, please.
I didn't see a red light. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we had a little error with the time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see a red light. I was
I know
watching
you
for it.
didn't.
But we
no
have more
problem.
kids and we have more cars. If you've got 147 acres, 47 cars, I mean houses, multiply it. It's not one per.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. My name is David Lohr, and I live at 243 Echo Meadows Road in the Dover District of Goochland. And I wanted to let you know that I fully support this development for Tuckahoe Bridge. This project is a great project. My elderly mother and father couldn't be here tonight and live at 3 Dahlgren Road. Have also asked me to speak on behalf of this development tonight. So thank you for your time. I just wanted to show my support.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Louise Thompson. I'm a Goshen resident. I live at 1930 Soldiers Lodge Road in Crozier. So I'm not directly affected by this parcel. I'm not an adjacent property owner, but I do, and I'm not really for or against the case. I just wanted to say something on behalf of the builder, the developer. They're an extremely good company. I've been building and developing for over 40 years, and these are one of the few contractors and developers that have survived the recession. They do an extremely good job. And I think the product that they're proposing, you all have to decide what will work and what won't work. You've heard the people, but I just know that whatever they do, they'll do a good job for. Goshen County does need some really nice quality developments. Not everybody can afford acreage, and growth is coming. There's a lot of high density south of this project and much higher density than this. And I think once the developers and you come to terms on what type of a proposal, it'll be an asset to Goshen County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Douglas Mock. I live at 2613 Mannequin Road. And I moved here 5 years ago. I was a university professor at University of Oklahoma for 35 years, and I retired and moved here. But in trying to decide where we were going to live when we retired, we looked all around the country, and we ended up choosing this area because it's beautiful. We considered Oregon, we considered up and down the East Coast, we considered a lot of places. We came into this part of the country, drifted around Richmond in sort of concentric circles looking for the most beautiful area. We found Goochland County and we chose it and we moved here. It was not to live in a housing project like that. It was not to be in traffic-choked roads. It was for the bucolic ambience and the countryside, the rural nature of the countryside that all the rest of the people here are living here and taking pride in this area for. You say, well, other people want to come to this area and live to have what we have also. This is not what we have. What we have is much nicer than this. And if you pack in people on 2/3 of an acre and have lots and lots of these housing developments and approve the next one and the next one, then you're not going to have any of this. It's all going to be like Glen Allen. So I will hope you will turn this down and try to preserve the flavor and the nature and the quality of Goochland County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Davette Bent, 72 Harvey Road, Rockville.
You may want to pull the
Pull
microphone
it
a
down
little
some.
closer.
Okay. Davette Bent, 72 Harvey Road, Rockville, Virginia. I am a 33-year resident now of Goochland County. Good evening. Tonight you are hearing the concerns of many residents regarding the density of the housing units, road safety, etc. on Rockville and Mannequin Roads. Only a few short years ago, these residents and myself were before you voicing these same concerns. So I again would like to address an obligation of the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. An obligation is a moral, social, or legal tie to another. One of the obligations listed of the Planning Commission and eventually the Board of Supervisors is the word stewardship. A steward is one who manages another's property. Every one of the members of the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors has the privilege of being stewards of the property in Goochland County. We, the homeowners here before you, rely on each of you to do what is best for us. Is it for any and all growth, no matter what the cost? Or is it best for you, or is it best for us, for you to be a good steward for our rural community? Just look at our neighbor, Henrico County. Some years ago, their planning commission voted to deny some development because the road system couldn't handle the traffic. However, their Board of Supervisors, in their relentless quest for money, charged ahead regardless of area, residents, quality of life. Now Shore Pump is voted having the worst traffic in the area with little road improvements to alleviate the mess. Is this what is best for us? I don't think so. Are you chasing the developers to get more money in the county's pockets? I sincerely hope not. Was that green?
1 minute left.
Okay. The developer has no obligation to maintain the rural character. His bottom line is profit. That is what he's in business for. But what is the county's bottom line? Yes, you take in proffers, fees, but once these proffers and fees are used for schools, roads, public safety, etc., and maybe even still bring down the debt on our water project, what will we be left with? Certainly not the rural character that has been written about in the 2035 comprehensive plan adopted by our county officials. So what we are asking of our Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors is to protect us from the developers and the lawyers who do not share our concerns and just want to build approximately 147 homes and reap the profits. Do not let them intrude on the rural character of our county as you leave Route 250. Your own comprehensive plan recognizes the obligation to maintain the rural character of our community. Don't change it. Please vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Charles Bent, 72 Harvey Road, Rockville, Virginia. Had the privilege of being here in Goochland County for 33 and a half years, and in that time I've seen a lot of changes, as all of us have seen. And when you look back at some of those changes, you'll think, gee, that was a pretty good thing we did, but we look back at other things and we kind of wonder what went wrong. We've got an opportunity to do things right here, starting tonight. I got some facts and figures from Goochland County staff as of 2018. You know, last summer we approved 850 homes down on Hockett Road. As of the end of last year, there is 2,653 approved building lots in Goochland County. There are an additional 373 approved apartment units in Goochland County. In addition, there are 538 building lots that are under construction in Goochland County. You do the math, you come up with 3,564 approved lots in Goochland are either approved and or under construction. Do we need more? I don't know. We've seen here tonight a lot of people complaining about the number of homes. I support this project if they do 1 acre building lots. They're proposing less than 1/4 acre lots. They're proposing, what, 10,500 square feet. That's less than 1/4 acre. That's 4 times what the comp plan is calling for. This is a transition piece of property. It's going to extend over to the north on the diagrams up on the wall. They got the connector roads already, so whatever we do here, it's going to continue. I live over on the other side of the interstates, and the building lots over there are typically 3 to 5 to 10 acres or larger. We need something to transition from the downtown Centerville area out to the outlying areas. Like I say, we've already got 3,564 approved building lots in Goochland County. Do we need more? I will support this 100% if they come back with 1 acre building lots, some nice, beautiful homes on a piece of property. So I would suggest tonight we vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, other board members. My name is George Andrews. I live at 9302 Belfort Road in Henrico. I have been a businessman in the Centerville area since 1977. I'm going to encourage you to vote yes on this project. It looks like to me it's a top-notch project, and we know we've got a top-notch builder. We've got a gentleman who's willing to spend about $700,000 to build that bridge across the creek or the swamp, whatever it is. You're not going to find that with every builder out here. 20 years ago, it's been at least, well, 19 years ago, the Board of Supervisors came to the business people and homeowners in the Tuckahoe Creek Service District. And they asked us, they said to us, we would like to have a septic system, a sewer system in the county with water and sewer. We need economic development and we need new homes. And if you will agree to mortgage your properties, we will agree to have a higher density in the Centerville area. Not whole county of Goochland, but just in the Centerville, Tuckahoe Creek District area. And for 20 years, Centerville Village has been designated as a village. So everybody who's moved to Goochland County in the last 20 years, if you look at the comp plan, it talks about a village with higher density. This plan is within the village, and it was set up to be higher density. If we look at what the board and the planning commission has already approved in the Tuckahoe Creek Service District, we're looking at Saddle Creek with 2.31 density on homes. We're looking at 1.92 in the park at Centerville. I'm not sure what Rita's Branch is, but I think it's a whole lot higher than what Main Street Homes is asking for. So to summarize, when we started out, I think Goochland borrowed about $60 million to put in the system. It's my understanding now the principal is $90 million. And the whole purpose of the Centerville area and the Tuckahoe Creek District Village was to have higher density. This fits right within that plan. People have talked about the comp plan. The comp plan is not law. It's a guidance. And there were promises made to thousands of us in the district, if we would mortgage our lands, which we agreed to, that in this restricted area, we'd have this development. About 2 weeks ago, I was at a meeting at Goochland Baptist Church, and I asked county planners that were there, staff that were there, I said, when will lines be extended outside of this district? Because there was a lot of concern about higher density moving past this. And they said it will not be in your lifetime or my lifetime.
We're going to need you to wrap up, but thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, you sure there's no one else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Now, the applicant can have 3 minutes if you would like to respond.
Just a few minutes, Mr. Chairman. There was a lot of discussion about impact on county services, fire and emergency services, schools, public service obligations, and transportation. As you know, under your new cash proffer policy, those very items are studied, calculated, and addressed through your cash proffer policy, which applicants can choose to agree with or take issue with. In this case, the county did create a comprehensive model for the impacts expected by this development, and we agreed to pay the full amount of the county's projected impacts covering those very items that a number of speakers took issue with. I think there's a real opportunity here for the county. You have a strong, award-winning builder with a proven track record, a well-planned community with $600,000 homes, located where growth is intended to occur under your plan. This developer is making significant financial contributions to the county and the Tuckahoe Creek Service District, providing the infrastructure set forth in your plan, and I believe consistent with the intent of that plan and the nearby developments on the map that have been approved by your Board of Supervisors. And so once again, I would just respectfully request that you recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have each of the commissioners have an opportunity to comment, but I'm going to exercise the chairman's prerogative to sum up this case from my perspective. Tom, would you put the Centerville map back up, please?
Do you want this map?
Yes, exactly. First, let me say that my wife, who is here tonight, have only lived in the county 18 years. But I fox hunted here 60 years ago. So I know the county quite well and have great respect and love for this county. And I do appreciate everybody here speaking to that subject. Okay, the Wilton application that we've talked about tonight to develop this property was my first rezoning case and my first meeting on the Planning Commission. I was not well prepared. Given that background, I spent a good deal of time reviewing this application, discussing it with staff and interested parties, and reading the correspondence, both pro and con. The application and staff report indicate this is a very different proposal from the previous case. The Planning Commission's task is to evaluate rezoning applications by considering the property rights of landowners with the health, safety, and welfare of our fellow citizens, guided by the objectives of the comprehensive plan. Referring to the comprehensive plan, this property lies between two collector roads, Rockville and Mannequin. The planning staff and VDOT are well aware of traffic issues on these roads and have included improvements to the intersections with Broad and Ashland in the recently updated major thoroughfare plan. Transportation projects are scheduled and initiated by VDOT when needs demand and funds are made available. Other development projects being discussed in and around Centerville Village will also impact these areas and thereby enhance the priority of improvements. VDOT proceeds with roadway improvements when there is a clear and present need. Now, the comprehensive plan does not specify zoning. It identifies preferred or recommended land use patterns. This property is located in Centerville Village, in the county's designated growth area, and the Tuckahoe Creek Service District. The Virginia State Code includes urban development areas, or UDAs, that are included in comp plans at the option of the locality. Our designated growth area, while similar to UDAs, is unique to Goochland. It encompasses approximately 15% of the county's landmass. It was specifically included in the plan to direct development to this area, thereby managing growth and providing the economic means to protect the remaining 85% as rural enhancement. This is a foundational element of the plan. There are locations within the boundaries of the designated growth area that face transition from rural to residential or commercial. I understand that's uncomfortable for some who live in this area and are concerned about development. These opinions are understood, but it's most important that we consider the facts of each case we evaluate. This site's in the northwest section of Centerville Village. There are approximately 150 acres of wooded area and farmland between the boundary, between the property and the northern boundary of the village. So there is a transitional area. Again, the comp plan doesn't specify zoning. It provides guidelines. Here's what the staff has presented. The comp plan prefers or recommends 1 acre average, not minimum, lot sizes, with no mention of open space. So that could be a mix of, say, 2 acre lots and quarter acre lots, so long as the average is 1 acre. Therefore, the land use patterns in the plan, I don't believe, are intended to be taken literally. The proposed layout has half-acre average lots with 30% open space. RPU zoning allows 2.5 units per acre. The proposed layout has 1.5. I won't iterate the traffic improvements, but suffice the proposals, but suffice it to say that they meet or exceed county and VDOT policies. The layout does include a connecting road between Mannequin and Rockville. The objective of RPUD zoning, as stated in the plan, is to encourage the development of major villages and the planned service area as proposed by the comprehensive plan. I believe this objective requires us to duly consider those proposals that may not be in strict compliance with the preferred land use patterns, but are quality developments that provide economic benefits in support of the fundamental objective to manage development. This, in my view, is good land use policy. Our job is to make a fair and reasonable recommendation to the Board of Supervisors based on land use factors. My opinion is that this proposal reflects changing market conditions and demand for smaller, upscale residential lots in the major villages and designated growth area, and it fairly addresses the prevailing traffic issues. I believe it has substantial benefits and sufficient merit to support a recommendation of approval. And comments by the other commissioners.
You know, when planning a development, developers have choices. They can plan. Can't hear me? Okay, okay. Developers can plan a subdivision either to conform with the municipality's comprehensive plan, or they can plan a subdivision which exceeds the recommended density by 50% and assume that the idiots won't know the difference. If the developer had come up with, say, just slightly over that, just slightly over it, maybe 105 houses, 110 houses, I probably wouldn't have squawked. But 50% more, I do not intend to support this. That's my
Yeah, I didn't get any applause. Thank you. Gentlemen, other comments, please.
Yeah, I would concur with Mr. Myers. I think that the development or the property is, it's in an area that's going to be developed. I think I've lived here. I hear all the folks say, you know, how long they've lived here and what have you. Some people may put a presentation together that is 50% or 100% larger than what an area is designated, but it's the property owner or the applicant's right to present that before us. But in this case, I would say that I'm not in favor of 1.5 times what I feel should be developed in the area. I think that we should hold this to 1 acre per household. So I agree with Mr. Myers. And not to take the chairman's thunder, but applause. We would like to not have applause during these statements. Thank you, Mr. Arcatraz.
My concern is also the variances from the comprehensive plan. You know, the comprehensive plan wasn't created in a vacuum. It was created over a course of 8 or 10 months of review by the staff, planning commission, board of supervisors, and numerous public hearings all over the county. There were meetings in almost every district that had the maps and showed what the comprehensive plan was. And we even, in the course of that time period, created a special district in Deep Run Hunt Club for the Deep Run area. It was a whole new area. We're not here to decide about the builder or the type of houses going in. We're only here considering land use. I know they're quality homes, and I think that's a plus, but being the fact that this comprehensive plan was approved basically by the citizens of the county, and we're here to do the work of the county and the citizens of the county. Like Mr. Myers has stated, if this was just a little bit over, or preferably a little bit under, I don't think it would be a big deal. The other developments in the area, Rita's Branch, Saddle Creek, some of the others I mentioned are suited entirely different areas. Some of them are age restricted, 55 and older, and some of them were done before this particular comprehensive plan was approved. So it's my intention to vote against this, primarily because it doesn't comply with the comprehensive plan, and I don't think the road through qualifies as a connector road, because I certainly wouldn't want traffic going back and forth trying to get to Rockville Road or heading out to the interstate coming through the neighborhood.
My concern is we're limiting the landowners that actually own the property. I mean, they've been paying taxes on, exceptional taxes on it for a period of years, and their ability to sell it for the best value is being limited by a plan that you know, they may have had 3 or 4 votes in creating the plan. So it is hard to go against the comprehensive plan. I understand that, but I am concerned that with following the comprehensive plan, folks that have been here paying taxes on these larger pieces of land all this time are not going to be able to get the value of their land when they need to sell it. I would have to vote with the comprehensive plan and vote against the project, though.
Okay, gentlemen, any other comments? Well, we act on motion.
I move that we do not recommend this for approval.
I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Myers,
Nay.
your motion was to recommend denial.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
So that's a yes.
Okay, that would be yay.
Brewer,
Yay, as Mr. Myers stated.
Rocket Charlie,
Yay.
Duke, Shellhorse.
I vote no.
The motion passes 4-1.
Very good, thank you. All right. Yeah, you want to take it, yeah, we have one more case, one more public hearing case. If anyone's going to leave, we'd like to take a minute to clear the room a little bit.
I think, you know, I was keeping track of it, and I think the easiest
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Especially taxes that they are paying that they're not even living
Oh,
folks who settle down, we have another case to consider. Okay, the recess is over. Greg? We're ready. Yeah, they're okay. Todd, yeah, we can't hear there.
They'll start, they'll get it.
Oh, they will, okay.
Let them go ahead.
Well, we're going to start. I don't think we can hear them out there. Okay, Greg? Yes.
The final public hearing item is in District 3, RZ 2018-11, application filed by Reed Marsh LLC, requesting a zoning reclassification of 56.3 acres from A2 Agricultural Limited and R3 Residential General to R3 Residential General with proffers to create 67 lots for single-family dwellings on tax map numbers 42158A, 42158B, 42158C, 42158, 42391, 42392, 42393, and 42394. The property is located at 3089 River Road West. The comprehensive plan designates this area as single-family residential low density.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. This is a request to rezone 56.3 acres from Agriculture Limited and R3 Residential General to Residential General with proffers. The site is located at the terminus of Sandy Hook Road, where it intersects with River Road West in the Courthouse Village. The site is partially in the overlay district as well. Comprehensive plan recommends single-family residential, low density. Current zoning is R3 and Agriculture Limited. Site is mostly wooded with some open fields. There is an existing house that was built in the early 1800s and a driveway with access to River Road West. The applicant plans to preserve the existing house and improve the existing driveway to River Road West to use as the main entrance. And there is an exhibit that will follow to kind of clarify some of this. There's a secondary entrance proposed across from the administrative offices. The applicant's proposing a sidewalk along River Road West and along one side of all internal streets, as well as a 50-foot landscape buffer along River Road West and a 15-foot perimeter buffer. Lot size will be a minimum of 20,000 square feet with 12 acres of open space. The comprehensive plan land use designation recommends 2 acres per unit. However, when the comprehensive plan was drafted, there was limited sewer capacity for additional residential development. Since then, the county has made agreements with the Department of Corrections, which provided additional sewer allocations for the courthouse area. And it does state in the comprehensive plan that the courthouse district is intended for residential uses. As growth takes place, the type and quality of development should be consistent with approved design guidelines. Pedestrian traffic is common and encouraged within the village. The availability of public water and sewer will impact future development in the village. All these lots will be connected to public water and sewer. This is the concept plan. It does provide a stub street in this area here, and that will provide connectivity that is consistent with the comprehensive plan. They will have a pump station down lower, down towards the southern end of the property, or the western or eastern end of the property, sorry. Shows the 15-foot perimeter buffer as well as the 50-foot River Road buffer. This is the comprehensive plan map that shows that connection back there, circled. And the conceptual plan is deemed to be consistent with this. This is the exhibit, the proffered landscape buffer along River Road. And these are proffered elevations of the type of houses that they plan to construct. This is the entrance feature that is also proffered. Moving on to traffic. The applicant has submitted a traffic impact analysis to evaluate the traffic impacts. Currently, River Road carries about 8,200 vehicles per day, and Sandy Hook Road carries about 8,400 vehicles per day. The traffic impact analysis added traffic from full build-out of 67 lots, and the analysis demonstrates that the project will have an impact on the level of service at River Road West and the site entrance, the main entrance at Sandy Hook Road. The applicant is aware and they are currently working with VDOT to finalize the required improvements and modifications to Sandy Hook Road and River Road West, as well as the traffic signal. The applicant proposes to address the following traffic impacts as outlined in the traffic impact analysis. River Road widened to provide a left turn lane in both directions at the secondary entrance. There is an exhibit following this slide to clarify. However, the application does fail to address the county turn lane policy, providing a right turn lane at this location. Westbound River Road West at Sandy Hook Road will be restriped to create a left turn lane with a minimum of 75 feet of storage. The southbound right turn lane on Sandy Hook Road will be restriped as a shared through right turn lane. Eastbound right turn lane from River Road West will be built for a main entrance, at the main entrance, with a minimum of 100 feet of storage. This is the exhibit to help clarify. The second entrance is right there, and that's directly across from that lower parking lot, the administrative offices, right there. So they're proposing to build a left turn lane into the county offices, as well as a left turn lane into their site. But this is where there is no right turn lane here. However, there is a right turn lane here into the main entrance. And then these are this is the, on River Road West, they'll restripe this area to provide the left turn lanes. Capital impact review. The applicant is proposing to mitigate the development's impact on capital facilities in accordance with state law by offering a cash proffer of $19,334 per residential unit. The applicant is fully addressing the capital impacts of its proposed development. The total reoccurring revenues will be a little over $143,000, and the one-time fees will be over about $780,000. The applicant hosted a community meeting at the Goochland County Library on November 28th and presented 3 conceptual layouts. Board members Mr. Alvarez and Mr. Lumpkins and Planning Commission members Mr. Brewer, Mr. Myers, and Mr. Duke attended that meeting along with about 17 citizens. There were concerns with density, traffic, and environmental impact. 2 people were opposed to this development. The applicant submitted proffers addressing the capital impact model, access, density, landscaping, architecture, and sidewalks. Proffer number 1 deals with the conceptual plan and says that the site will be developed in general conformance with Exhibit A and B, which are proffered exhibits. Number 2, buffer requirements. A 50-foot landscape buffer along River Road shall be provided. That conforms generally to Exhibit E. And a natural or landscape buffer 15 feet wide around the perimeter, and where existing vegetation is void, the applicant is proposing to plant supplemental evergreen material. Number 3, no more than 67 homes will be built on this property. And staff comment, although this isn't consistent with the comprehensive plan, of a land use designation of 2 acres per lot. Number 4, elevations. The home will be generally built to the proffered elevations, Exhibit C. Number 5, sidewalks. Sidewalks will be provided along River Road West and around on one side of all internal streets. Number 6, street trees. 1 tree for every 50 feet of roadway. Number 7, an HOA, protective covenants will be developed with this subdivision. Number 8 deals with an entrance feature as proffered in Exhibit D. Number 9 deals with cash proffer of $19,334 for each residential house. Number 10 deals with the turn lanes. The following improvements will meet or exceed VDOT design standards. The applicant has proffered that River Road West at the county parking lot entrance will be constructed as shown on the exhibit. B, River Road West at Sandy Hook Road at the site entrance will be constructed as the exhibit. And then I is restripe the westbound River Road to create a left turn lane with a minimum of 75 feet of storage. I was restripe the southbound turn lane on Sandy Hook Road as a shared through right turn lane. And then the last one, construct an eastbound right turn lane from River Road West into the site with a minimum of 100 feet of storage. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. The applicant is also available to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Greg?
Yes. Mr. Gerson, you stated that low density, that about 2 acres per lot. Is that correct?
2 acres per lot is what the comprehensive plan.
Well, my math says this only allows 8/10 of an acre.
What, that this proposal,
My math says this proposal only allows 8/10 of an acre
This-
per unit. What gives?
the applicant's proposing 1.19 units per acre.
Which is the same thing.
Right.
When it comes up to 8/10 of an acre
Absolutely.
per unit.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty good at math.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, on that, John, on that point, in the comp plan, this is low density currently,
Yes, sir.
which is 2 acre average.
Yes, sir.
But that was based on not access to public utilities.
Yes, sir.
That was because you need well and septic, 2 acre average. Or I thought it was 2 acre minimum, but I assume it's average.
Average, yeah.
I think the zoning is 2 acre minimum.
Yes, sir.
All right, the zoning is minimum, the comp plan is average. But because water and sewer services are being made available from the Department of Corrections, then you're saying that the comp plan is being adjusted, if you will, to 1 acre, to medium density. Is that,
Well, the comp plan's not being adjusted, but it would be appropriate to,
this application is being, this application is being considered as if it were medium density?
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it.
What you're saying is that at the time the comprehensive plan was updated, if this had water and sewer, it would have been.
There was no water and sewer available
Yeah,
for
if
this.
it had it, it would have been high
If
density
it,
more than likely.
as it came, in the comprehensive plan, it states that as it comes in, the availability of public water and sewer will impact the future development in the village area. So I think it would be appropriate to
I
consider
just wanted to clarify that point. And what is the cash proffer?
$19,334.
On your proffer, the last proffer about the eastbound right turn lane, that was not shown on the plot map. That was the one that you, is that the one that you
I'm
asked for?
going the wrong way, sorry. Let me get there.
The second entrance doesn't have a right.
Right.
The second entrance, yeah.
Is this is not addressing that entrance?
No.
Was there a reason that they couldn't, they're not putting the right turn lane on the second entrance?
I'd have to have the applicant address that.
I mean, we normally require that. I mean, it's a pretty standard requirement.
It's a policy.
I'll ask them.
All right, anything else for Greg? Thank you, Greg. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening. Andrew Browning with Youngblood Tyler and Associates, representing Reed Marsh LLC. Read certification. The proffers in this case are being voluntarily offered to address impacts specifically attributable to the proposed development. The proffers are reasonable under state law. First, I'd like to say thanks to the county staff and Mr. Garrison. He's been a huge help with this case. I do have a small PowerPoint that I'd like to show, but not to be redundant, he has iterated most of the points that we have. We talked a lot about the comprehensive plan, and at the time it was proposed, we didn't know we were going to be able to have water and sewer in this location, so that would allow for increased density. The first 500 feet of the site exists as R3 zoning, so we're just rezoning the rest of the property to R3, which R3 zoning allows for 20,000 square foot per lot if you have water and sewer. Our site, let me get to the, so we're coming in, the site is right across the road here. We're coming in on the existing driveway. Our plan is to preserve the existing house, and we want to maintain this entrance through the existing pine trees that, what I understand, were planted back in the 1950s. We surveyed these and are trying to make our main entrance go right through them and preserve as many as we can. Let me click to, and the existing house, which the GIS says was built in the early 1800s, we plan to preserve that and refurbish it. We have not done a thorough structural evaluation of it yet, but the plan is to keep the existing house. This is our proposed conceptual plan. I would like to point out a few things on how to get the pointer. We are proposing a 50-foot buffer along, which one does it? This one. Let me go back. This. There we go. So we are proposing a 50-foot buffer along Route 6, which will be planted similar to what is at Holland Hills. There are a couple streams through the site, which we are preserving and proposing a buffer along. We proposed a buffer along the entire perimeter of the site, and if in some areas where the trees are limited, we propose to landscape them with a double row of evergreens. There's existing pond on the site we plan to preserve and improve. It's kind of overgrown now. We want to make that an amenity to the site. The open space totals 14.5 acres on the site, which is about 26% of the area. We also have proposed several quality items for the development: sidewalks along the street, sidewalks along Route 6, street trees on both sides of the street. We're connecting to existing Route 6 at the light, proposing all left and right turn lanes at the signal. We initially were looking to connect in this location down by the library, but at the request of VDOT and some access management criteria, we ended up moving the secondary entrance west across from the lower parking lot of the administration building. We did not propose a right turn lane in that location because the traffic study only showed that in the peak PM traffic, only 2 right turns, and in the peak AM traffic, it was only 1 right turn. So it was well below any traffic warrants for any right turn lane. So that was why we did not propose that on the current plan. We did propose left turn lanes into the administration building and into the site, and then, left and right turn lanes at the signal. As we said, the project will be connected to water and sewer. We think it's a great project. We're committed to building a quality product. We think it would be great for the local businesses in the courthouse. It's in the Goochland Courthouse Village. The county's growing. We should concentrate the growth where there's the utilities within the infrastructure. So we have water, sewer, we have a road network that will suffice. The traffic study pointed out there were some increases to traffic at a few of the intersections. We're adding some housing, so we're increasing the traffic. But, according to my traffic study, the increases at the intersections were negligible, and the longest increase in delay was 2.6 seconds. That's all the traffic will call it, as any of the intersections that we studied, 2.6 seconds. So we believe it's a good project. We're asking that you guys approve this. We think it complies with the comprehensive plan, which is a guide. We also if you look at the density of this versus Swan's Inn that was recently approved, and Courthouse Commons, which are comparable lot size, water and sewer. This actually has less units per acre than those two developments that exist today. I'm happy to answer any questions. My traffic engineer, Carl Holtgren with Ramey Kemp, is here. He can also ask questions. We ask that you guys could approve this.
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, sir.
A stormwater retention is a large pond a BMP?
So we are aware that there are potential drainage issues down at the pond near the Goochland Recreation or the Goochland Pool. So the stormwater requirements will require that we essentially detain all that runoff before it leaves the site. So we haven't got that far with the development, but we're proposing, let me get this thing back up here again. The existing pond will be, okay, here we go. So the existing pond, we would convert into a stormwater basin, and we're proposing to put like a aerator, a fountain in to make it an amenity. But there will also probably be other areas where we need to put in some additional stormwater ponds to detain the runoff.
Yeah, just on the surface, that just doesn't look big enough to handle the runoff, given all the impervious areas, that one little pond.
We did some preliminary stormwater studies, and my engineers came up with some areas, and those were the areas they said would suffice based on the stormwater regulations. Now, we haven't done the full design, and we'll get to that further down the road, but, you know, those areas should suffice.
Yeah, that'll have to be part of the POD.
Yes, sir.
Which obviously the county will review, so.
Yes, sir.
I was just curious, thank you.
One of the neighbors agreed to show me around your property. And I took a good look around it. And I noticed there are a lot of very, very marshy areas on their property. And I'm assuming that this, I guess I'll call it green space, is in those, is all in those marshy areas, including the place where you intend to put the pump station. Is that true?
So a lot of the areas that we show in green, we actually delineated the wetlands. And so if you can see those dashed lines, those are actually the wetlands that are actually delineated on site. And it is some marshy area in this area where the two streams come together. There is a stream that comes out of the pond, and then it comes down in this area and meets the main creek. So where we're showing the pump station is just kind of a placeholder, but it'll be in that vicinity because that's potentially the lowest point of the site. So it will drain to there, then pump back up to Route 6, and then gravity flow back to the existing system on the other side. That answer your question?
Yeah, you did mention the cemetery.
Yes, sir. So there is a cemetery. I'll mention that. There is an existing, the Miller family cemetery is on site. It's right in this location. We have proposed, we're not going to mess with that. We've given some area around, I think we have at least 15 feet in all directions around it. But Mr. Lane, the owner of the property, had requested that we leave room and access. I think he's in charge of maintaining that cemetery. He wanted room to be able to park 2 vehicles in that location, and so that's what we have maintained.
Do you know what the speed limit is on River Road at the point of these 2 entrances? Well, not where the traffic light is, but the secondary entrance.
I believe it's 35 right here. It may be 40. 45 starts.
It transitions right there.
Yeah.
35 to 45.
And then 55 just right back when you start getting up towards the high school.
Well, I'm really concerned about not having a right turn lane there. If somebody's coming east on River Road at 45 miles an hour, and we're to turn in there, then depending on the turn signal, it keeps somebody from rear-ending it.
We can build a right turn lane. The traffic study didn't warrant it. We were way below the threshold, so we didn't show it. It actually didn't even warrant a right turn lane at the light, but we knew we would need one there. But we have room to construct a right turn lane, and we can construct one if needed.
Yeah, better do it before somebody gets rear-ended.
What would dictate that? VDOT, or just that was something that you all would proffer during this stage? Or?
We could amend it to add a right turn lane at that entrance. But VDOT regulations dictate when a turn lane is warranted.
They're saying it's not required.
Not even close.
Mr. Duke, the planning staff has a policy of always asking for left and right turn lanes, and it is my understanding that we request them or more than VDOT warrants them. So there are 2 different standards. You can not need one by VDOT, but still have planning staff seek one.
But we can't ask for the profit, they have to do it.
Right, it's just a policy of the,
Are you gonna profit that or not?
Okay.
Yes, sir, we can proffer that.
John, I think we have a question over here.
Go ahead, let John finish.
Was any fewer houses considered in your proposal when you were, when you were in your planning? Did you ever consider fewer homes? Because 20,000 square feet is a little less, just a tad less than a half an acre.
Correct.
That's gonna, 6 to 7 houses on half-acre lots is gonna make that look like Henrico County.
It's gonna look similar to Courthouse Commons or Swan's Inn. Our goal is to try to sell houses around the $400,000 mark. And to get to that product, with development costs and land costs, we're trying to get a density that we can keep our prices down in order to sell a house in that price range. And in hopes that there is some more affordable housing in the Goochland Courthouse area. The other development was $600,000 or $700,000. We're hoping these will be $350,000 to $400,000. Yes, sir.
The existing house, is that going to be a lot, or is that going to be a home for sale or an amenity to the development?
So the intent currently is we situated it to be on a new lot, and then it would be refurbished and resold.
If it's, you say it hasn't been inspected yet as far as its soundness, if it's not sound, it will be taken down in a new home construction.
Yeah, if it's not structurally stable, we'll probably tear it down and do, but, the hope is to keep it. We haven't been able to get in it all the way. Mr. Lane has it full of stuff. He's been moving stuff out, so we hadn't been able to get in and do a thorough inspection of it yet.
The stormwater runoff, Mr. Myers was saying it's somewhat marshy. With the stormwater regulations, I guess, retaining the water on the site, you would have less water going into adjacent property than you would as it is today with those ponds. Is that?
Correct. So the stormwater regulations are so onerous that we essentially have to release less water from the site today after it's developed. So once we design the site, less water will go to the existing pond and off-site than it does currently today. That's how stringent the rules are.
That's a new regulation.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open a public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this application, please come forward.
My name is Christina Dunn. I'm the president of the Goochland County Historical Society, and I would like to yield my time to Mr. Hamsey. Thank you.
Okay, well, we don't really yield time, but we'll allow some extra time if you would like.
My name is Nancy Russell. I live at 3043 River Road West. I have very strong concerns against this development, and many of the neighbors, there were some neighbors here this evening, but they had to leave because of the length of this, but they are concerned too. I am going to have Mr. Hamsey express some of those concerns.
My name is Tariq Hamsey. I live at 3189 River Road, and I would also like to yield my time to Mr. Adib Hamsey.
Well, once again, we don't yield time. Each speaker is given 3 minutes. You can use it or not.
My name is Charlotte Cerny, and I live at 3189 River Road West. There's all the other reasons that the other development needed to correct before it could be built. This is highly congested. There are too many units in it. It's an unusual place for a large development to be right on River Road. I think that area doesn't need it. And also, this may seem silly, but they are destroying a large forest area and an ecology system. There are creeks, there are water, there are deer, packs of deer that live there, and they are going to destroy the entire habitat And, you know, I don't care that he has to sell a house for $400,000, so he has to put it on a mini lot. That's their business. They want to make profits. If they can't, they have to make less profit and fewer homes in that area. It just doesn't need it in the courthouse area. It's an unusual place to have it.
Thank you.
My name is Matt Russell. I grew up at 3043 River Road West. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but since I can't give my time to Mr. Hamsey, I guess I'll just say a few words from the heart. You know, you don't really take notice until something hits home. I think we all appreciate the growth and development that Goochland has undergone since I was a kid. I think we made a lot of good strides, but I think, I hear this is a good project. Frankly, I think that's laughable. That's that pond is where I grew up fishing. That field is where I took all my family and friends for so many years, and that is, to me, that's what Goochland is. When I look out the window at my parents' house and living outside of it for a number of years, I hear all the development coming into the county, so many things happening, so many houses going up. I understand progress has to come, but it's a beautiful piece of property that 67 houses is. Frankly, it's ridiculous, but so yeah, I just I appreciate your time. I hope that you will take into serious consideration, I would say the soul and love behind a lot of this land that we all love. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Charles Hayden. I live at 3565 Haydenville Fife Road. And you know why I'm here. Because we went through quote-unquote hell to get 17 acres divided into 2. And here we see you want to, and I'm not saying, I'm not prejudging what you will vote, but in fairness and consistency, I don't see how that you can do this. You couldn't do the other one. How can you do this one, which is 67 houses to 56 acres? And I'm a firm believer in people being able to use their property any way they see fit. But I cannot sit there and I cannot sit in that seat and see the way that it is going. And I think it is gendered by money. And I think that if a regular citizen was to do this, he would not have the ability to put in thousands of dollars. And I think this would be the leading factor with this. I can't see it. I mean, I got 17 acres, 17.87 acres, and I wanted to divide it into 2 or 3 pieces. Actually, I asked for 2, and I couldn't get 2 without having to be hammered around, up and around. So I'm just kind of interested to see how you'll handle this one.
Thank you, Doctor. Anyone else?
I guess I'm the Mr. Hamsey, and I appreciate your time.
Sure.
And the limitations thereof. It looks like the theme is going through the night for the
if you pull the mic down.
the concern of the citizens. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Goshen County Planning Commission, good evening. My name is Adib Hamsey, a resident of 3189 River Road West, 23063. I've been living there for 23 years. It is my honor and privilege to stand before you tonight, conveying deep concern of mine as well as those of our neighbors and residents in the Courthouse Village regarding the Reed Marsh LLC requesting zoning reclassification of the property at 3089 River West, with the intent of developing it to erect 67 units over 56 acres total. Collectively, we respectfully invite you to deny this application in light of the following, and primarily driven by what the developer just said tonight. It doesn't look like he was ready for the development anyway. Adhering to the village concept for the Goshen Courthouse as defined in the county comprehensive plan, housing developments in this neighborhood need to be in a low-density, 2-acre lots, and are conducive to the safe pedestrian use. Even if the whole area is used to build the proposed housing units, it will amount to about 0.8 of an acre per unit. When common use buffers, roadways, and low-lying swampy areas are considered, the acreage per unit will be dramatically less and consequently more density. This is contrary to the comprehensive plan as set forth by the county. Per County Department of Community Development evaluation on January 14, 2019, packet page 89, this request is not consistent with the comprehensive plan land use designation for single-family uses with an average lot size of 2 acres. Looking at nearby developments, Holland Hills, Swans Inn, and Courthouse Common Place, they all have 2 acres lots. At the community meeting of November 28, at the Goshen Library, we were told that 67 lots will be built with 2-story homes, and then in the application we found out that it could be also 1-story and 1,400 square feet. So we feel that we've been shortchanged there. The use of sewer and water in Reed Marsh with the proposed 67 units will definitely deplete the availability of capacity for use for future development. Common areas and buffers. A sizable portion of the designated common area use area of the application is not suitable for any kind of use because of its location and condition. It is low-lying, mostly wet, in some areas encroaches upon the 100-year flood plan. Also suitable buffers along property lines with neighboring homeowners needs to be equally of concern.
Okay,
so
sir,
I ask you,
let me just say,
Yes.
since the other speakers were so brief, we'll allow you a little extra time.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. The increased traffic, as was mentioned before, with the proposed development at VDOT, attests increased traffic becomes a significant safety concern that increases threat to the residents, pedestrians, vehicle traffic, especially around nearby Goshen Elementary School, YMCA, the library, and throughout the entire courthouse. The staff report dated 1/28/19, packet page 96, projected 149.41 population impact on the development. This translates to 2.23 residents per household. And I think more practical is to have 3 to 4 individuals per unit. The historical and cultural significance, it was mentioned before. The cemetery was not even mentioned in the application form, yet it was an afterthought tonight, prompted by a question from one of the commissioners. No matter how many units may be approved for this development, there needs to be a county requirement that the developer clears all the barbed wire around the buffer line and debris from the streams that run in the property as well as around the inside of the perimeter of the property. Research of the developer revealed that while the company has no reviews by the Better Business Bureau database, it is a small company with very few employees. This brings another layer of concern for us. Is the company equipped, and does it really have the capacity to undertake such a project? Last but not least, we want you all to know that our concerns in this matter do not reflect a negative view towards growth or development in the courthouse village. Rather, we respectfully ask that you consider this application in light of our concerns. We are of the opinion that if this project should go forward, 1.5 to 2 acre lot sizes will be more appropriate, will be more suitable, and will be safer for the neighborhood, will preserve and improve the area property values, and will keep congestion at a manageable level. So I would respectfully encourage you all to vote no on the application as it is
Very good,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would anyone else like to speak?
My name is Fred Jenkins. I live at 3040 Gathright Drive. I'm totally deaf on my left ear and half deaf on my right ear, so I don't know one thing that Mr. Hamsey said. But I agree with what he said, because we've had meetings about it. I'm not going to sit here and, I imagine he's covered everything I'm going to say. One of the things in the comprehensive plan says balanced development that contributes to the welfare of the community and preserves its rural character is goal number 2 in the county strategic plan. I fully support the absentee landowner that's selling this land for development, and I fully support his plans, the developer's plans up to a point, and the point stops at about 25 lots. What he is proposing now is does not conform whatsoever with the local neighborhood and the area right around there. As you can tell when you look across the street over here, or go down this area or down Gathright Drive. It's more like you expect to see in Henrico County and in Chesterfield. It just doesn't look good, and I don't think it's going to be an asset whatsoever for the county. And I hate to see this kind of development, even the thought of it being entertained, but everybody's got a right to go through the process. I can't say enough against it. I just think it's sad to see that kind of development even brought up here. The other thing I have a problem with is this development is going to remove the last, more or less, of the sewage capacity in the courthouse. Now, when they originally decided to zone the front of Route 6 through the courthouse, more or less Business 1, I think that's the way they did it, and everything behind it was agricultural. And now, the developers are running out of land, and they're coming to Goochland, and they're going to be coming in droves before it's over with. I do not want to see that. I don't know whether I'll still be living, but I don't want my children to have to look at it either. Nobody should have to look at that kind of development backed up right against their land, like it is on a large portion of mine. The county solution is we built this infrastructure, the sewage infrastructure for business. And now they're running out, the development is taking over it. Their solution is to build more infrastructure for sewage. I don't really see the logic of that unless the county just wants to have a lot of huge, thick, high-density subdivisions. I just don't see it. But that's the supervisor's problem, not y'all's. Anyway, I'm against the thing as it is written, and would encourage it to stay around 25 homes. I think the landowner has a right to that. I would think the developer might not take back 3 bushels of money, but he'll take back 1 bushel weight back to Richmond. Anyway, that's my stand on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Louise Thompson. I live at 1930 Soldiers Lodge Road, which is approximately 2 miles north of this property. So I am a little bit affected by this one. But I do have some comments on it. I appreciate the development itself. The walkability concept in the village courthouse is a great area, a great concept and great thought. You've got the Y, you've got the elementary school, you've got the middle and high school, you've got a grocery store, you've got some nice restaurants. It's a perfect place for a walkability neighborhood. A couple of items on that. The sidewalks are a great idea. The trees, it's going to look nice. I am in favor personally of more buffers. You've got, especially along River Road and the adjacent property owners that are used to rural living. I think they would appreciate a little more buffers involved in this. We have developed Breeze Hill down Fairgrounds Road. We have a 200-foot buffer along Fairgrounds Road. This has much less of a buffer, and I think a deeper buffer will help the appearance to people in the neighborhood or in the village area that are driving through there. I think the traffic is going to be an issue personally. We've got a roundabout eventually coming. Everybody's focusing on coming to the courthouse between the schools, between the administration building, all the other development that's going on throughout Goshen County. Everybody has to come to the courthouse, whether it's the contractors getting a permit, whether it's the other people using the county facilities. They all have to come to the courthouse. And I think turn lanes, as you talked about, is a really good idea for this particular location. The affordability concept of it, I think, is a great idea. I'm also a real estate agent, and it's very, very difficult to get affordable housing in Goshen County, especially in new houses. I know the economic factor of it is almost impossible now to build a house at a reasonable price for our teachers and our firemen, but the affordability concept is good. I personally would like to see less and to stay with the comprehensive plan and have less number of houses on larger lots. I agree with you. The 2-acre minimum is a good concept for Goochland. And as a real estate agent, that's how we explain Goshen County, that we've got the village concept with growth developed in the village concept. That's what I say every day to people coming to Goshen County. So in the village concept, we encourage development. I don't understand why this one, for example, may go through if you vote yes, but the one 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, was denied for the same reason. So think hard on this. And the density is an issue, especially in the village area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Susan Delaney. I live at 2005 Shepherdtown Road. And I just wanted to say that I agree with everyone who is stating that this density is too high for the Goochland Courthouse Village. I think it's going to destroy the whole character of the village. And I had a question. In the pre-application, they said that they had approximately 49.2 acres. And they were going to build 60 houses. And now they're saying they have 56.3 acres. So where did the other 7 acres come from? They added 2 parcels that were 0.19 acres. So that only adds up to a little over 49 acres. So where's the land coming from? Did they do another survey or what? So if it's really the 49 acres, it's even more dense than what they're stating. So I just think that needs to be cleared up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Do you have the timer ready to go here?
I do.
Good.
Good evening, Mr. Shellhorse. My name is Jonathan Lyle, 1521 Mannequin Road. I appreciate the gentleman who said he had some hearing issues. I'm colorblind, so I won't know when that light is red.
That's all right. I think we'll let you know about that.
You think? Okay, sir. I just have kind of more of a question. I don't really have a yes or no on this. I've been trying to get my head around the fact that if the water sewer had been in place at the time of the comp plan, this might have a different zoning classification. And I'm using the word might because I don't know. And I have been consistent when I've spoken with members of the Board of Supervisors, and this is sort of my inaugural visit with you folks tonight. You can count your blessings. You haven't seen me before tonight, maybe, but I do believe the comprehensive plan is a great guideline. So I'm a little torn on this as to if the water sewer had been there, the classification would be different. It would be in compliance with the comp plan, as I understand it, had there been different zoning on it. But what we have is the hand we've been dealt. So and I know precedent is one of those words that you do it for one, you have to do it for everyone. I appreciate Dr. Hayden commenting on that too. I will make the observation that I had I don't even know what to call it because you keep changing names on it, but a rural preservation going to my property. And that 15-foot buffer kind of caught my attention because 15, I don't even think, well, we're probably more than 15 feet away, but that's not a whole lot.
It's just a foul shot.
Yeah, well, I'm a hockey guy, so I don't know. But having said all of that, 15 foot, I'm not sure what the next property, their buffer would be. Maybe you get 215 together, you're up to 30. But I don't know if the developer would be willing to look at that. And Mr. Rockerchali, I think, is spot on with that turn lane. The time to put a turn lane in is when you're doing it. I mean, I didn't put a basement in my house when I was building. I wish I had. And when I asked the contractor later, it would have been prohibitive to do it. So turn lanes, look at the buffer, and I just wish you guys the best of luck in considering as to, well, if it had been water and sewer, would we have zoned it differently, and would it be in compliance with the comp plan? So good luck, guys. I will be back there watching.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like? Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Would the applicant like to come forward to rebut?
I appreciate the concerns of the neighbors, but again, this is the Goochland Village. And so, in my opinion, a village is something more dense. It's not 2-acre lots, 5-acre lots. It's a walkable community, and the appeal to this is the location to the library and the schools and the Y and that type of thing. You know, we're providing sidewalks and curb and gutter. You don't see curb and gutter and sidewalks on 2 5-acre lots. So, you know, in my opinion, a village is more dense. It's something like this, and that's what we're going for. The sewer capacity, it's my understanding there still is excess capacity in the line for commercial development. That we had several meetings with the utility department, and there's capacity they're giving up for the residential development, but they still withheld capacity for future commercial development in the courthouse. The buffer that we provided along Route 6 is consistent with Holland Hills. Holland Hills had a 50-foot buffer with the same landscaping. So that's where we obtained that buffer. Along the perimeter of the property, those lots are really deep. I mean, they're half-acre, 3/4-acre lots. So we could, right now, the lot doesn't go all the way to the property line, but the house is not going to be all the way in the back. The houses are going to be situated up near the road, and then the back of the lot will still be, you know, wooded or field in some instances. What we could do is we could put a landscape easement or something in the lots, or provide a larger buffer, especially along Mr. Russell where it's more open, or something of that nature. I don't think we'd be opposed to that. The site is 56.3 acres. I'm not sure where the acreage issue got off. It comes out to 1.19 units an acre. Someone mentioned a floodplain. There is no FEMA floodplain or floodplain on the site. There is a couple streams in some low areas, but there's no floodplain within the development. I think that's all I had, unless you guys have any other questions for me.
Any questions for the applicant?
What about the density? Can you, I mean, I know that's the hot topic.
You mean to lower the density? Can we go in with lower density? Like I said, our intent was to try to, you know, we're spending, there's a tremendous amount of development costs. The signal is a huge improvement. We're basically redoing that entire signal at the intersection. And those turn lanes and those things are very expensive to the development. And so in order to try to make a profit, we're trying to get what we could out of it and still have a nice project. And, you know, we're pump stations, and there's a lot of costs associated with it. And the intent is to try to end up with a house price around $400,000. So that was their reasoning behind the density and how we ended up with that. And the zone in the R3 zone and allowed for 20,000 square foot lots, provided you had water and sewer.
Do we have a map showing that the front, I guess, where I guess the original R3 zoning was? What the portion of that?
Greg has it.
Original.
Hold on.
If you don't mind.
That's your, sorry.
Yeah, you gotta get yours up.
Just to kind of understand the difference between what's already by right, if you will, versus what's
You got
changed.
it? Sorry.
You got it.
I got it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, let's go back. Slow, sorry. I could push it faster, but it won't go faster. Am I going backwards? I am.
any other questions for me?
What percentage would you say that is of the R3 versus the A2?
So how much of the site is currently R3? 30, 40%, 40%?
All right, any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Gentlemen? Any discussion, comments?
I have walked the property and I looked at it.
I think it's hard for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've walked the property and I looked at it and I've really considered it. And it's not that I am against this project. I'm against, I think 67 houses is far too many for this piece of property. The density would be far too high. It's certainly not in keeping with the comprehensive plan. And I think it would just give the area a look of, a city look. I'm being consistent.
Right. Well, I think that's one thing we have to look at is being consistent. We don't know what we would have put in the comprehensive plan for this particular area had the water and sewer been there when we did it. So we're making an assumption, and we can only deal with the facts as they are today. I'm concerned about the smallness of the buffer. I'm concerned about not having the turn lane. And I'm concerned about not complying with the comprehensive plan as it sits right now.
Mr. Duke, this is in your district.
Yeah, one of my concerns is, well, one, I know, I spoke with Greg earlier today, and the sewer capacity is at like 89%, is that what you said?
It's approximately currently about 79%. They would take it to about 81%. And that was talking to the Director of Public Utilities.
So there's still a fair amount of sewer left, even for commercial development, which is one of the things the county is wanting.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's, I hate limiting the landowner as to what they can do with their own property. And it's not our position to say, can you do 50 lots and make it work? We only can vote on what we have in front of us.
Well, I'll just jump in and say that, that we have two major villages, the courthouse and Centerville. And then I guess two other emerging villages. Joanne, is that correct? But we have two major villages. They are part of the designated growth area. Seems to me that the foundational element I mentioned earlier of the comprehensive plan is that if we encourage development where it's designated to go, in the designated growth areas, that's how we protect the rural enhancement of 85% of this county. So I'm having a hard time understanding when we talk about the comprehensive plan, when my understanding is the foundation of the plan is to direct development to the designated growth area. That's the courthouse village. That's Centerville. That's the eastern area of the county. That's how we protect the rural enhancement. There've got to be rooftops to get commercial quality businesses. There've got to be rooftops in commercial businesses to generate the tax revenue to provide the infrastructure, fire and safety, schools, roads. So when I hear talk about the comprehensive plan, my mind goes to the designated growth area, which is how we protect the rural nature of this county.
One more thing.
Yeah, we've already had we've already had the public hearing.
Well, one more thing I would need to question is, we're talking about we need to be consistent. I was not here when Swan's End was voted on at a higher density than what this is, and it's, I assume it's pretty equidistant from the courthouse, as far as the center of the village.
Were you finished, Carl?
Yeah,
okay. No one is opposed to growth in the areas that are designated for growth. But we have a responsibility.
Not to argue with you, but I would beg to differ.
But we have a responsibility. And it seems like virtually every case that we have, the developer is trying to push the envelope. How much can we get away with? How much will these jerks let us get away with? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They're legitimate businessmen, and they're going to do what's in their best interest. We have more to consider than the best interest of just one, of just the developers, because they have rights too, and I certainly understand that. But our citizens have rights, and the reason that we have a plan, which I realize is a guideline, in some variation is acceptable. When you come in and you say, I'm going to put in 50% more houses than the recommended density, that's absurd. And it makes us look stupid. All I got to say.
I have a quick question for staff. In the percentage of this property that's in R3, what by right could they have as far as homes approximately?
How many homes?
Any ballpark?
Andrew, you got any thoughts on that?
I'm just curious, by right, if they did not rezone, if this was just, we're looking at what's in R3, what
Yeah.
would this look like from a density perspective,
Right.
just to kind of get a, and it's just to kind of understand.
Yeah, what does R3 allow?
R3 allows 20,000 square feet. So they could do 20,000 square feet.
20,000 square feet.
20,000 square feet in the existing R3 area. They
So
could,
that band along the border of Route 6, there, they could have.
By right, they
by
are.
right, that means they come in with a POD.
It's unique.
If we assume that was 40% of the site is currently R3, and you just took that area and divided it by 20,000 square feet per lot, that comes out to 48 lots. In the R3, so if you took that out, okay, then it would back that back there.
But that's not including the other.
So
That's not including the back
Right.
60% of the property.
I guess that's why I just wanted to review that, so 20% less
You took
than.
20% of 48, then that's another 10 off, so 38.
So you could put 38 homes, with a POD that's approved in that R3 area.
No
there.
proffered conditions. So no
And 40%
architecture,
of the
no
property.
buffers, no landscaping, no sidewalks.
No $19,334 per lot.
Right.
No, there would be sewer.
Yeah,
I
there
just-
have to be sewer, there's no way they could.
I just want to run through, like, by right, what we're looking at with this parcel, regardless of.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, it's, if we're looking at, I've heard comments about, 25 lots in this whole piece of this project. By right, the landowner would have, outside of other things that may come up, open space, what have you, they may, in theory, have 30-some lots that they can put in that space up there, so, and then you've got the rest of the property to work with.
And that's with
It's
no
unique.
buffer on Route 6 at all.
It's a unique piece. So-
All right, any further discussion? Mr. Duke, this is in your district, so what if we look to you to move this matter forward?
I mean, it's a project I'd like to be able to stand behind, but not, it is a long ways from what we're scripted to allow. I can't make a motion to move it forward.
So would you like to make a motion in the other direction?
I guess that's what I have to do.
All right, there is a motion to recommend disapproval of the application.
I second it.
And there is a second. Any further discussion? And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Myers.
Aye.
Brewer.
Aye.
Rocka Charlie.
Aye.
Duke.
Aye.
Shellhorst.
No.
Motion passes 4-1.
All right, is there any other business before the commission this evening?
None, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We stand adjourned.